peace, love, and
I remember being taught in middle school, elementary school, Democrats were for the people and Republicans are for the money. And growing up and life hit me, it was absolutely the opposite. And that's when I knew exactly what indoctrination was.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We are groomed to learn a certain way. And
let's talk about the media for a second. And we've got a lot of media, obviously, on these risers. We've got national media. We got local media. We've got a lot of print. We got digital. We've got local radio. I talked to a lady down there from a local radio station, owns up in Fresno. There's a lot of media here. My problem is this, and I'm going to call him out a little bit. Right side, we air the entire speech. We air 2 hours before he goes on. We let you know what the mood is like in the room, how many people are here, who's here, right? All the pre-speeches. A lot of these media outlets, they'll roll on the speech, but they'll be very selective of the sound bites they push out, right? And some of the writers will already sit down and have their story half written, it's half baked before that man has even stepped on stage. They already know what they're going to say. And so if all of the never Trumpers that don't take 5 minutes to listen to his actual speech or what he's saying, if they would actually listen to the president and his policies, they would love him.
that is something I noticed. When I first saw him live, I saw him live with my daughters.
You were in Arizona, right?
Well, yes, but I've seen him before that.
Okay.
So with Turning Point USA, he had came out to speak a few times, and I had my kids with me. I was very excited. I loved his speeches. Everything that he said was just passionate and patriotic and for the American people. When you saw it on the news later, it was absolutely edited to make him sound like a jerk.
And pompous.
Yes.
And what they'll do, and not necessarily here, but what they'll do when we have a rally, we have people outside, walking around, doing all this stuff, they'll find the craziest, most radical-looking supporter that's over-enthusiastic, and they'll make them look dumb to make it look like we're all just these dumb hillbillies out here supporting the president. They find the worst, and I say the worst in a very kind, the ones that really put on all of the MAGA gear and almost comical in a way. We love them, but they make fun of us, and that's what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We love them, but they make fun of us
because we know we've seen him. We know his stance. We know his values. We know his priorities. And
yeah. We're glad you're joining. 12:09 here as we get closer to the start. 12:30. It's slated. I'll see if I can't get a check on that here in a little bit. Let's talk about Mike Lindell, though. Hey, talk about a guy who from day one, he was all in on Trump, and he's been one of these patriots that has done everything he could to save this country. And so go to the website, mypillow.com, promo code RSBN, and get up to, ready for it, drum roll, 80%.
Oh, wow.
Up to 80% off on your entire order. Go do it today. Mattress toppers, pillows, slippers, dog beds. You got a dog? You have animals? Is he sleeping good at night, the dog?
He will.
He will. Go check it out, mypillow.com, mypillow.com for that website. Well, I tell you what, let me come over here. I'll let you step aside and go to do that. And we're going to talk about what we can expect today. And of course, he is going to talk about the state of California and what the state is dealing with in terms of economic problems. We got crime, we got law and order. We also have a border that's broken and it's open and fractured, and what his plan is to combat all of that. And of course, Gavin Newsom, who was at the debate just the other night, was in the crowd and watching the other candidates debate, and actually has said at one point that was the JV team, that was the B team, and that President Trump clearly has won the primary. And I've said this several times before. I kind of compare what's going on right now to a sports league. And if your team was up in a division by 40 plus games, or perhaps if you only had a month's schedule left, and your team was up by an unsurmountable past number of games, the season's over. Like it's statistically impossible for anyone else to make up that ground. Well, I kind of see the primary like that. It's very clear that overwhelming. That's what the polling is reflecting. Now, on the flip side of that, I mean, we do have a third debate coming up. NBC has the rights to that debate. So will we see President Trump in that third debate? Perhaps that might be a question at a later date that we can ask him. But then my next question is this: is like, when can one of these debates be hosted by a true conservative company that is going to maybe ask some of the questions, some of the tough questions that will back up some of the policies? And it seems like now it's just kind of like people are just like spouting out their resumes, but with a few of them that don't really have a huge track record to run on. And so I'd like to see maybe a different outlet sponsor some of these rallies. I'm gonna step aside because I can hear some dishes. I can hear people sitting down, talking, having a good time as we are getting closer and closer to speech time here in Anaheim. Oh yeah, it is definitely filled up in the last few minutes, but we're glad that you're joining us here. And as a program reminder, when we leave here, we are going to go get in the motorcade, and we're going to go to a special location and follow the president the rest of the afternoon, and then we'll follow him back here to Anaheim, rather, and we'll wrap up the broadcast from that location. So we've got a full day ahead of us. We're so glad you're joining us. This is the California GOP. This is the lunch. This thing sold out relatively quick. But I've been told about 2,500 people have paid to come in here and listen to the president speak. They do have speeches later on this afternoon and tonight, and also tomorrow, as well, as California gears up for this next election season. And hopefully, with some of the with the election coming up, when you look at the map of California, as far as politically speaking, yes, you have your major metropolitan areas are very, very blue. And you have your inland and your Northern California inland are very red. So the state is split to a certain degree, where the coastal areas lean left, and of course the inland desert areas are more conservative. And it's encouraging, though, because you do have pockets of conservative areas, and when you go down in Orange County, where we are at right now, tends to be a little bit more conservative than other parts of this area, and you go and there's hope there. And so hopefully through people opening up their eyes up, realizing that a lot of these policies have not been the best for their family and their business, that they will tend to wake up and vote Republican. Let's talk about our friends over at Trump Knife. Well, I tell you what, if you like knives, we've got one for you right now. It's got a Save American slogan, and this knife is awesome. It's a collectible. It's functional. This knife is a perfect in self-defense, multi-function utility. Take it out hiking, camping, or hunting, or just walk late at night. With a single click, you can deploy a razor-sharp blade that lets you cut through the toughest material. And then when it's shut, it fits safely in your glove box, your tackle box, or even in your pocket. Now, this blade is razor sharp now. A 420 steel blade, the entire length of the knife, when deployed, is, get this, 8 inches with a 3.5-inch blade. It's perfect for everyday concealed carry. Go to thetrumpknife.com, thetrumpknife.com. You get a special discount right now. Get 70% off. Again, go to thetrumpknife.com, and reserve yours today. And as always, use your best judgment and check your local, state, and local restrictions on carrying a knife. We are in California. If you're wondering what the average price of gas is right now, we're looking at about $6.28 a gallon here in the Los Angeles area, about $6.29, $6.30 up in San Francisco. This is up drastically just from a year ago, so there has been not a whole lot of relief at the pump for Californians in this state in terms of gas. Now, there was talk that Gavin Newsom would drop the state gasoline tax, which is about 38 cents. That would bring it down some, but that's far above the national average on that. And also crime. Crime is a big problem, not only in this country, but specifically here in California. These smash and grabs that you see so much on social media. California has a retail task force. They're setting aside about $15 million to stop these smash and grabs. And we've seen stores like Nordstrom's. We've seen some iPhones, Apple stores rather, close, shoe stores close, high-end, retail shops close, simply because at one hit, one smash and grab, they can lose hundreds of thousands of dollars of merchandise. And a lot of companies have said no thank you to that, and they have simply walked away. Also, Gavin Newsom signing in a new bill yesterday, making the price of gas minimum wage here in California at around $20 an hour. Now, that does not go into effect until April 1st of next year. So fast food workers, fast food employees getting a bump in their hourly wage for $20 an hour on that. Now, there was a strike out front earlier. It was a hospitality union that was striking, and I was able just for a few minutes ask them why they're there, and they said, well, we need better working conditions and better wages, because at this point people are having a hard time surviving. It's having a hard time getting through the inflation that they have. And I mean, imagine dealing with inflation in a very prosperous state like Texas compared to doing it here in the state of California, where just about everything is almost twice the average of what it is across the country. Home sales, gasoline, electricity. Sarah was on earlier talking about her natural gas bill at her house was $800 and her electricity bill was $1,200. That is insane. And that is one of those things where we have the ability to have energy independence, and President Trump put us in a position to have energy independence, and we have absolutely gone back to prehistoric conditions, if you will, with these Biden energy policies that are on hand. Also, take a look at the school systems here. Just in Baltimore, there was a report early in the week that out of 13 of their biggest schools, 13 schools, 0 students passed the math exam for the state that was efficient in math. So 0 students out of 13 schools. And I would say that to a certain extent represents a lot of the country. And of course, the school officials there blame they blame COVID. They blame the COVID shutdown as one of the reasons why their kids fell so far behind on these testing scores, is because the schools closed. They had to do remote learning through the computer, which they thought at the time was such a brilliant idea. And many people and teachers and educators and just parents said, wait a minute, we know this is not the best for our students. We don't need to stare at a computer and do remote learning. We need to be in the classroom. And they still, despite all of the medical information that we had in terms of kids being a high risk factor, or being a low risk factor, I should say, to COVID, despite all that information, they still decided to close the schools. Some states closed for over a year. These kids never returned to school. All right, step aside real quickly. If you want a T-shirt, we got the T-shirt for you. Yes, we do. A most wanted T-shirt, Trump style. Go check it out. Makes for a good collector. Makes for just any kind of supporter. Would love to have this shirt and we're glad to have this company be a part of our production today. So I'm just encourage everybody to go check it out. You can save as a club, so you're basically going to, when you sign up for this, not only do you have the opportunity to get this special offer, we're actually giving it to you for free. Shirts2024.com. That's shirts2024.com. The last time we did this offer, the last time we had it, a couple days ago, Detroit, sold out. So take advantage of this offer right now. Go to shirts2024.com. Claim yours today. These T-shirts are printed and shipped right here in the USA. Go to shirts2024.com and claim yours today. Basically, it's 12:22 as we make our way into the bottom of the hour here. And this is to kind of recap. We don't come out to California very often. This is one of those states where, well, we had the Gavin Newsom. We did the recall that was going on. We did some of that. We helped with the signatures. We had a couple of rallies during that whole ordeal. Then we went to the election night here in California for governor. We did that. Then we went to a bar restaurant in Burbank, and that was fighting the closures that was going on there in that area. We covered that, but we don't necessarily spend a lot of time in California. And what I found earlier was just amazing that people truly appreciate the coverage that we're providing them today, and they truly appreciate the president coming to California. I don't think they get to see him here enough. And a lot of people say, and I've had people tell me this, well, why would he come here? California is overwhelmingly Democrat. It's overwhelmingly blue. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there is a substantial Republican base here in California. And I think it's growing due to the economic conditions of this state. I think there is a huge opportunity for us to regain here. And of course, Mike Lindell has said several times of how red California really is despite what the elections say. And so maybe through this next election process, we can get more people registered to vote, and more people out of the polls, and really provide an answer to a lot of these problems that perhaps President Trump will talk about tonight. So we'll see exactly how that plays out. Also, on Sunday, we'll be in Iowa for a caucus event there that President Trump is speaking out there. And remind everybody, January 15th, 7 p.m., I believe, is the caucus in Iowa. January 15th, 7 p.m. We'll put some information out on social media as how to get involved with that, because you got to be registered as a Republican in Iowa to participate in the caucus. So you have to be not only registered Republican, but you also have to be 18 at the time of the election. So make sure that you get in touch with that. We're getting some breaking news here that General Milley is officially retired as of noon. So General Milley is no longer an active general in our military, effective by noon. So once again, maybe certain departments in our country is realizing that the American people have had enough of some of the weaponization of the departments, and a way that we've become soft in a lot of ways to what's going on in our society, and as far as active our military at wars as well. Also, to let you guys know, the impeachment inquiry that took place yesterday, that will continue. It was just an inquiry. People say, well, they didn't really provide hard evidence. They provide evidence building up to having an official impeachment hearing, but that was just an inquiry. We'll keep you updated on that. I'm going to step aside, show a little bit of the scene behind me, and then after this word from Birch Gold, I do want to take a commercial break. After Birch Gold here, with this digital dollar and the Brex that's going on right now, the dollar is at risk of simply being gone. As simple as that. Your retirement's going down. Our friends over at Birch Gold Group want to send you a free information kit on how to invest in gold, silver, and precious metals. You can do that real easily. Just text the words Trump to 989898. That's Trump to 989898. Get that free information kit. Thousands and thousands of our viewers have done this. It is a way to tax shelter your money. It's to keep it in a safe place, and we want you to get involved and to save your financial freedom and protect your investments. So simply text the words Trump to 989898. That is the Birch Gold Group. Let's take a quick commercial timeout. We are live here in Anaheim, California at the California GOP Luncheon. President Trump is scheduled to be here, well, looks like probably between 12:30 and 1. We'll keep it tuned on that. But a few minutes, we'll come right back. We've got it live here from Anaheim.
What's up, guys? My name is Jaden Hurd, and I have a Christian show called Let It Be Heard, where we analyze culture and current events from a biblical perspective. I highly recommend you guys check us out. We now have episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And basically, what happens is we react to videos, we have talking points, we have on guests, and it's very exciting. Come check us out on Rumble on the RSBN channel. God bless you guys.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took MyPillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented MyPillow to bring you the best pillow in history, MyPillow 2.0. Because of all of you, MyPillow 2.0 has been a huge success. And now we're bringing you our best-selling Go Anywhere MyPillows with the same temperature regulating technology. Made with my patented adjustable fill and brand new cooling fabric, they're truly the next generation of MyPillow. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save over 60% on our MyPillow 2.0 4-pack special. You'll get 2 MyPillows and 2 Go Anywhere MyPillows, regular $259.92, now only $99.98. King size just $10 more. This is a limited time offer, so please order now.
Right Side Broadcasting is known for panning the crowds, showing the packed arenas, and allowing you to see the truth. We've covered hundreds of rallies, briefings, marches, CPAC, and the historic overturning of Roe v. Wade. Right Side Broadcasting was created in 2015 by our founder, Joe Seals, creating a unique broadcasting experience that allows you to make your own decision rather than force-feeding you an agenda. We don't cut or edit people's words or twist them to fit a particular point of view. We allow our correspondents to be open about their opinions while maintaining journalistic integrity. Right Side Broadcasting wants to continue our legacy with help from people just like you. Your donations and support allow us to continue to be the gold standard in live, unedited event coverage. Help our cause by sharing our broadcasts, subscribing on our social media platforms, and supporting us on our locals community. Your monthly or one-time contributions on our website are crucial in our fight for the truth. Thank you for all of your generous support.
My employees and I are excited to announce it's our 20th anniversary, and to celebrate, we're bringing you a limited edition MyPillow. The Giza Elegance MyPillow is made with the most amazing cotton, 2-inch pipe gusset, comes in 4 custom loft levels, and it's machine washable and dryable.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. That's why we've been around for 20 years, because MyPillow works.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your limited edition 20th anniversary MyPillow queen size. Retails for $69.98, now only $19.98. That's right, only $19.98.
With my 60-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. Sleep well, America!
We're back out here live at the Anaheim Marriott here in Anaheim, California for the California GOP. Well, they have a sold-out lunch behind me. About 2,500 people have signed up to hear President Trump speak, which he is scheduled to, come on at 12:30, but it looks like it might be a little closer to 1 on that. We'll keep you updated. Also, I want to remind everybody, go to our website, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Now, you've heard us talk about the need to sign up for our newsletter. But here's the reason why. You're going to get exclusive offers through our email subscription. Things that you won't see on the website, things that you won't see on our app, but you'll see it in this newsletter. So I want to encourage everybody to go check it out, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter, and subscribe to that. Our editor-in-chief, Grace Saldana, Alex Caldwell, Summer Lane, they do a tremendous job. I mean, I've had people come up to me and say, hey, I found out about this because I get your newsletter. I found out about this because, well, I subscribe to your newsletter. So go do it today, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter, and get that exclusive offer. Now, we're here in California, and of course, I was looking at some of the economic data on this state of California, which, by the way, it is the first quarter of 2023. California accounted for 14.4 of the entire U.S. economy. So about 14.5% of the U.S. economy is made up of the economic prosperity, I guess you could say, here in California. But so it ranks first in the economy among states, and as well as Washington, D.C. So it's number one in the economy. At one point, it was the fifth largest economy in the world. And when I lived out here in the late 90s and the mid 2000s, it was interesting because that was the beginning of the tech boom and the .com boom that happened here in this state. And we saw areas not far from here in Irvine, California, and of course Silicon Valley. You saw the jobs that were pouring into the state, the real estate that was developing. You had stretches of land out here that at one point was nothing but dirt and maybe a farm. Now you go by and it is nothing but building after building after building. Huge developments out here, huge communities here in Southern California. So California is a thriving economy. But on the flip side of that, they do have their set of problems. And I know that with growth, you will have some problems, and they deal with a lot of a higher unemployment, believe it or not, than the national average in this country. They deal with a higher average of homelessness in this country, and that can be for several reasons. And Sarah Rodriguez, that was on here earlier, we're talking about some of the reasons why they have such a high homeless population here. Is a lot of people, once they fall on some tough times, it's really difficult for them to get back on their feet and find affordable housing, an affordable place to live. So they find themselves living in their car and then maybe living in a shelter and then end up eventually living actually on the streets. There is a huge problem with our vets and the way that they are handled and treated, and the opportunities that are offered to them to be in a safe, secure place. So California definitely has their share of problems here in this state. Now, you might have seen the videos on social media and on the news of all of the tents that just pop up around the city, and it really, when you get close to the Los Angeles area, I'd say you see that more than you would see it down here in Orange County. Even though it does exist here in Orange County, it's much more prevalent in the Los Angeles area. You've got that. You've got a lot of the crime, the looting that's going on. You've seen the videos, or even hitting areas like Beverly Hills. I mean, the organized criminal activity that is in these areas that are targeting the retail is having an effect on business. And you've seen retailers, select retailers, pack up and say we're not going to have stores in these areas that are at a high risk. They are losing money. And not to say there's also, it's a threat to public safety in some of these areas that's going on right now. So due to the crime and the prosecution of crime, that's resulting in an economic downturn on some of these retail businesses in this area. Now, that's not widespread. That's in isolated areas, but nevertheless, it is a downturn. And then, of course, you go into the drought situation that we have here, and they had a very rainy summer. I mean, California had system after system that would come through here, so I think their water reservoirs, if I'm not mistaken, I'll try to get an update on that, is relatively, it's getting better. The drought conditions is not as bad as it was in the last years. They've had a drought. I even noticed today on the local news that they had a little bit of a system come through Southern California later on tonight and tomorrow morning that would provide a chance, and that is a chance, of showers here in the Southern California, in the Southland here, and then even a slight chance of a dusting of snow in the mountains. So they have maybe turned the corner. Fall is definitely on its way here in California, but they've got such a rich history of tourism as well. I mean, we know that just literally maybe a couple hundred yards away from here is the backside of Disneyland. You can actually see where Disneyland is right there. You see rides, you can hear the crowds, you see a lot of people on the streets here walking around. So tourism in this area is extremely strong, and of course tourism across the state in Los Angeles is strong as well, San Francisco. So and of course you have the draw, the allure to the beaches and the Southern California lifestyle. California has a lot to offer, the economy, tourism, vacation, but it does come with a price. It comes with a very high price tag to survive here in this state, and a lot of Americans right now are struggling, and I think that's something that people, and maybe tonight we'll hear President Trump talk about that. Hey, I'm going to step aside because that's what we do. We're live here in Anaheim at the Anaheim Marriott for the California GOP luncheon. We're glad you're joining us here on this beautiful Friday. And a programming note, we will be live on Sunday in the great state of Iowa. It seems like we've been going out to Iowa quite a bit. We'll be there live. President Trump is speaking at an event there. We'll be on the ground with him in Iowa. And get this, we'll be on the ground with him whenever we leave here as well today. So we'll do our show here. And then as he walks off the stage, we're going to transition our cameras, get inside his motorcade, and we are going to make our way to a special location where we can then get on the ground with him and show you what it's like to be in that motorcade. If you've never seen some of that coverage, I encourage you to definitely dip in for that, because that is really kind of a special, unique opportunity to see what happens. I had a couple come up to me several times, one's in here and a couple outside, say, hey, we love your motorcade coverage. That is something that you can't get everywhere. So I just encourage everybody that after we leave here on the stage, we are going to transition into the motorcade for that. One of the things I also want to talk about here in California is the widespread drug use that is in this state, and you've seen the videos from San Francisco and here in Los Angeles. A lot of hard drugs, not just fentanyl, but heroin, a lot of harder street drugs. They have a problem, and that is what caused a lot of these people to be in a situation where they find themselves to be homeless for their drug addiction. And maybe that's something that President Trump will talk about today, because that does lead into other problems in society, and it starts with drug abuse. Let's go to the program. Let's dip in real quick and see what this guy has to say. We're live here in Anaheim. Looks like it just might be an audio check, which might be an indication that they're going to come out here and start any type of pre-program. I was not aware that we had a pre-program, but perhaps there is as well. So the drug problem, what's going on? The over medication of our country is something that has really hurt our society, and that's something that we need to look at as well. We talked a little bit about the smash and grabs, that there's a retail task force that is investing $15 million into stopping the smash and grabs, and a lot of this activity is criminal. It's criminal activity that is organized, perhaps gang related, and we have really seen such a spike in all of that. So the state of California is working on that. Beautiful state, geographically speaking. Southern California is very diverse in its landscape and what it provides, natural resources. I think it's one of the most beautiful states that we have. It's sad that in the last 20 years, I'd say, we have seen such a decline in the quality of life here in California, and it's something that it needs to be addressed. And I feel like the governor race, the last time when they recalled Newsom, there was an opportunity to kind of give a fresh look at the state of California, how we should govern it and address some of the problems that we had, but it just seems like that didn't necessarily play out well, and so now we have a situation where a state that has a vibrant economy, has abundance of natural resources, that has an incredible tourism, that is now in a situation where change needs to happen. Big change needs to happen. And a lot of people have said, let Newsom and Trump go head to head. If that is ultimately what's going to happen, and I will say this, I ultimately think that you will not see Joe Biden be the nominee for the Democrats. I don't think it happens. I do think it is going to be Gavin Newsom. So if indeed it is a head-to-head competition between President Trump and Gavin Newsom, Trump wins all day long because it's low-hanging fruit to pick on the problems that are in this state, and that we know that the problem that they have, President Trump has the policies to correct them. And we talk about law and order. He's got a plan for that. The economy, although it is strong, they do have unemployment. There's unemployment problems here in the state. He's got, look, Trump's a business guy. He gets it. He has a plan for that. The regulations that are in this state is insane as well. It's a lot of problems that is in terms of getting new business developed, and the taxes that are come with, and the fees and the regulations that come with. Starting a new business is something that has really forced a lot of companies outside of this state simply because they can't afford to operate their business. It's very high operational cost to have a company here due to some of the state and local regulations. A couple days ago, we were in Detroit. President Trump stopped over there to talk to some United Auto Workers strikers, and some of the things they talked about was the lack of affordable wages, and the fact that some of these people have worked 15, 20, 25 years with really no substantial pay raise. Cost of living adjustments is what's really hurting them. And of course, I think those people represent this country. I really do. I think that the Americans in general should strike. That this is something that they are not. This is not the America. This is not the economy that we had back in 2016, 2017, and really going into 2020 before COVID hit. And then, of course, that was something that was almost avoidable. in a way of what it would do, and there was so much uncertainty when COVID hit that it hurt business in general, and people weren't allowed to work. They weren't allowed to earn an income. They weren't allowed to provide for their family. Churches were closed down. Schools were closed down. We were told we couldn't, walk into a gas station and buy something. So much damage that COVID did this country, and then of course President Trump built it back, and he's always says he'll build it again. If he goes in for a third term, wins for the third time, he'll do it again as well. And a lot of people say, he'll hold China financially accountable for the pandemic, and I think that's important to note, because China has benefited so much from what has happened, and the fact that a lot of people don't know that Joe Biden has essentially signed over authorization to the WHO to manage and recommend our response to any upcoming pandemic. Now think about that for a second. If something was to happen in this country again, okay, we would give authority to the WHO, and they would indicate how we respond to a pandemic. That is Biden once again putting America last and putting our sovereignty, our strength into the hands of other people. And President Trump also has spoken many times that he is the only one, and he says this with great passion, that he is the only one that will prevent World War III. He has said it over and over again. Not only will he strike peace with Ukraine and Russia, but at the same time, he will prevent World War III. I don't know why, at this point, we have not seen more of a push for peace. We've never been closer to being in World War III than we are today under Joe Biden. This, you got this global conflict between nuclear armed powers would mean death and destruction for all. And it's a different type of war President Trump talks about. It's not just sending tanks and troops on the ground. It's a different type of high-tech war that does have great consequences to all of this. And I truly believe, if you look at President Trump's and his foreign policy, let's go to our program here, starting in a few minutes. It's 7. All right, just getting a notice here. It's 12:48 here local time. I just got a notice that the program will begin shortly. But, he talks about it's a very different time in our world, and that we had no new wars under President Trump, and the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan that has happened. Also, President Trump talks about stopping Biden's war on the suburbs, because Joe Biden recently announced that he will require every state, county, city, and town to submit this so-called equity plan to impose the left's Marxist housing agenda on our communities. So he's forcing, a type of housing situation on an area that, well, they're not wanting it. But if this power grab will put radical and racist left-wing bureaucrats in charge of micromanaging the housing where you live. So think about this for a second. You're allowing the government to dictate who lives in your area and where they live and how they live. The woke left is waging a full-scale war on the suburbs, and the Marxist crusade is coming to your neighborhood and for your tax dollars. It all comes down to money. It's interesting how this whole climate fight really comes down to money, and it comes down to taxation in terms of fixing the climate. There's only one way to do that in their mind, and that is taxing their way into a cleaner environment. Where no matter where you sit on the spectrum of climate discussion, because I think we can all agree that We all want clean air. We all want clean water. That should be a universal need and a universal want. We all want that. Nobody wants dirty air and dirty water, but we must come to grips that we cannot control Mother Nature. We are not. Weather is weather. The climate is climate, and that's not something that we can control. And I really think it's kind of narcissistic from a man standpoint that we think that we can change the cycle of Mother Nature. I think we should simply be responsible. And of course, this state has done, I will say this, the state has done some very good things in terms of cleaning up the air quality in Southern California. If you look at video and you look at some of the images and how it was back in the 70s, before a lot of the emission standards came out on vehicles and some of the plants, that you would see that due to the standards, we do have cleaner air here in Southern California. It is, and I think that makes sense to make sure that we do all we can, but the fact that we're going to tax even more is misleading. President Trump also talks about shattering the deep state and the fact that we've seen what the Department of Justice, the CIA, the FBI has done to President Trump with these indictments. It seems like they got the first one, poll numbers go up. They got the second one, poll numbers go up. They got the third one. Then they brought him to jail, did the mugshot, and then we had more indictments. It seems like this push for indicting the president has only elevated his popularity and has only elevated his fundraising as well. I know coming off that first one was kind of a massive fundraising push from normal fundraising efforts. So the American people see what's going on, and President Trump vows to clean up the deep state on that. Also, the border. I know the border is obviously a big issue. I think we can all agree that the border is a problem, and I said this earlier, that I am not for, I don't want to see any more press conferences on the border. What I want to see is action. I want to see something done. I want to see Greg Abbott in Texas do unprecedented activities. I think flying these people across the country is not what I want. I don't want to see buses showing up and illegals getting out, going into these cities. I want to see them turned around and go back to the country that they came from and do it the right way. The illegal immigration is what we're mostly fighting back for. We are not against immigration in this country. Let's be very clear on that. I mean, that is the way that this country was founded from immigration. But it's the illegal immigration which has brought in a lot of drugs, brought in a lot of weapons, and it brought in some bad people, as President Trump would say, just some bad people. And so cleaning up the border, how do we do that? Well, remain in Mexico would be a start, and finish the wall would be another next step on that, which, by the way, President Trump had the majority of the wall pretty much built, and we had materials laid out. I was down in Texas and actually walked under the areas that the wall was still under construction, and it's amazing that the materials was there on site. All this stuff was ready to be constructed, and President Biden at that time stopped the contracts to build the wall and left the material there on the ground next to the wall. It is still there to this day. They have not moved any of that stuff. And from what I understand, just about 2 years ago, it was rusted out. A lot of that stuff, materials, was no longer able to be used. So just a tragic situation that has happened with the border wall. And of course, we saw the floats, the buoys, the barriers that were in the water at the border that was causing a lot of disruption for a lot of these people coming across the river there. And then that was Biden administration ordered those buoys to be removed. And then we saw barbed wire. put up along the banks of the river there. And then you saw an attempt to basically put clothes and put some sort of padding. We saw the images of kids on their hands and knees climbing through the barbed wire, coming across, many getting scraped and poked by the barbed wire, and then border agents at that point having to come out there and cut the barbed wire apart to let these people come in. There's a humanitarian aspect to all of this, is that we don't want people to get injured coming over to this country. We simply don't want that. There's a lot of kids, there's a lot of elderly, there's a lot of middle-aged, young, healthy men as well. But we don't want the women and children suffering coming over. But we simply need to find a way to close the border and have policies that will remain in Mexico and do it the right way. I think we need to have immigration reform. I think it's too difficult. It's a lengthy process for someone to come into this country. Years ago, when I was in radio, I had a couple of students that came over here on a dance scholarship from Europe, and it took them 15 years to become a U.S. citizen through the process of all the paperwork and the thousands and thousands of dollars it took to do that. And when they told this story about how difficult it was to become a U.S. citizen, I really said to myself, I now kind of see why people go through these other ways of getting in. I don't say it's okay. I'm against that. But we've made this situation so difficult to do it that a lot of people choose to just go the other route. And it's simply not fair to those who actually did the process the right way. It's simply not fair to people who obeyed the law on that. To remind everybody, the CR failed in the House earlier. So at this point, the government shutdown is looming. If I have a chance to talk to President Trump here later today, I'm going to get his thoughts on this economic shutdown of our U.S. government and get his thoughts on that. It seems like the two sides are so far apart, and it seems kind of like, and I'm really frustrated because we had plenty of time, the House, both Democrats and Republicans, and we all had plenty of time to work out a budget and work out this plan, and we passed with appropriations that we would line item some things out. And one of the biggest things right now was money going to Ukraine. That was one of the biggest standoffs that we had. Now, the Ukraine money was stripped from the Department of Defense budget, which is what a lot of people wanted. They don't feel like Ukraine money should be baked in the cake to the Department of Defense. It should be a separate appropriations. And so if you're for more money in Ukraine, that should be something that you vote on separately, and that's exactly what they did. Every single Democrat voted to continue supporting money to Ukraine. 101 Republicans also supported that, so that unanimously passed on that. 117 Republicans voted against sending more money to Ukraine. Now, what does this look like in the 2024 election, and what does this look like for possible primaries for some of these Republicans? Now, I know for a fact that there are several Republicans that voted to send money to Ukraine that are from a very red district. Their districts are as red as you get. And for them to vote, and I know how they vote, I know what the people want because we listen to them. But for them to vote for funding a war in Ukraine and doing it against the will of the people in their districts is wrong. Now, if their districts were for it, then I would say they work for their districts. So if their districts are saying, yes, we support the war in Ukraine, then by all means, you do what your district wants you to do. But if your district is overwhelmingly against funding a war in Ukraine, then how can you continue to vote for it? That is the very disconnect that we have in our political system today, is that people feel like their elected officials no longer represent them. They no longer represent their values of why they were elected. And I think you're going to see 2024, this war in Ukraine is going to divide, it's going to separate a lot of Republicans You're going to see some primaries going on across this country that in districts that you didn't think would happen. Now, I'm not saying that the outcome necessarily will change, because a lot of incumbents, you've got the power of communication, you got the power, you got obviously the money, the fundraising is behind you. So it does take a substantial amount of money to inject into a race and take somebody out that way. But I think it's possible. I think you're going to see certain high-profile Republicans have a run for their money this next time. I think it's absolutely possible. What will we see out of the Democratic Party, though? I think that's interesting. I know that the Biden said early on that he was not interested in having any debates for the Democratic nominee. And I think it's a mistake. I think if he feels so strongly about his what he's done over the last 4 years, if he wants to defend what he's done to the American people, if he wants to defend how his foreign policy, if he wants to defend his fiscal policies, if he wants to defend his stance on a lot of social issues, then I think that he needs to have a debate and let the American people decide if they are willing to do that another 4 years. I think that you won't see it because he's not going to do it, but I still think that, and I said this 2 years ago, he will not be your nominee. Gavin Newsom will be your nominee for the Democratic Party, despite numerous times saying that it's not for me, not going to do it, not interested. That's a Biden-Harris ticket. I support the nominee. I support Biden-Harris. He has to say that. He has to say that so that when the time comes, and the time will come, when they will reach out to him and say, you know what, these approval ratings for Biden are so low, we just don't want to move forward. I think it goes into more of a health situation excuse. I don't think they're not going to admit the failed policies of Joe Biden or have been so bad, so we need somebody else to come in. I think they play the not feeling good, doesn't have the energy to continue. I think the health is the reason why you'll see Joe Biden step aside and insert a very much younger nominee and Gavin Newsom. But the good news is, for Republicans, is you can run against the fiscal policies and the social issues that he's had in the state. I've already written the campaign. Don't California my country, is what I would say if I was running against Gavin Newsom. I'm not saying that he's a bad guy. I'm not saying that he's not. He's probably a nice, personable guy. But the policies of this state have been awful. And we see it when we drive around and we talk to people. And I was out on the sidewalk earlier talking to supporters out there waving flags, and they all came up to me and said, literally, thank you for coming. We feel like we're not represented by anyone in this country from a media standpoint. No one's talking about it. No one's talking to us about what it's like in California. And I'm hoping that today, with President Trump here in town, we might be able to learn a little bit about that. But we're glad you're joining us. Get a quick check of the time here. It is 1:04 here in Anaheim. He was expected to come on the stage at 12:30. Now, granted, if he's like all of us yesterday, he might be stuck in traffic. Granted, because traffic here is awful. No matter what time of day that you hit the road, it's absolutely horrible. So perhaps the motorcade is held up on some traffic. Maybe he's in the building. Maybe he's talking to some supporters back behind us. I want to maybe step aside, kind of show a little bit of the crowd. That's what we're known for. That's what we do. Also remind everybody, you can follow us across the board on social media. It is real easy. Go over to Truth Social at RSBN on Truth Social. You can follow us on X as well, Facebook, Instagram. We're all there. You can follow me as well. For a couple hot takes, you can follow me on Twitter at Brian Glenn TV. That's at Brian Glenn TV. Instagram as well, Facebook, and at Truth Social, just at Brian, Brian on Truth Social. And I'll try to give some behind-the-scenes scenes. Don't forget about our locals. And guys in the studio, if you want to pull up that local page there, we love us some locals. And locals is one of those platforms that based off a Rumble platform. It is for the people, and sign up for exclusive streams, exclusive content on Rumble. On locals, and it's just a great way to stay connected with us. And don't forget about the newsletter. I'm going to say it again: exclusive offers on the newsletter. Let's see if we can get a shot of this group taking some pictures over there. Sign up for our newsletter at rspnetwork.com/newsletter. rspnetwork.com/newsletter. Sign up for exclusive offers they can only get through the newsletter. And also, you're going to get the very best articles in the business because we got the best working for us. Grace Saldana is as good as it gets. And I'm going to tell you, she doesn't miss anything. If there's a story going on right now, no matter where it's at, she is going to cover it. So we've got a great team, and we're very proud of them back at the studio for that. We got a great production team as well, and we enjoy what we do. So if you don't have our app, go to the Apple, your Android store, and download our app as well. It's absolutely free to download, and you can absolutely free, and that's one way to stream everything going on in this country. I'll come back out. I want to bring Sarah Rodriguez in here as we get closer and closer to President Trump taking the stage. I mean, you can feel the excitement in the room right now.
I'm so excited right now.
I'm so excited. We were just kind of recapping the situation of California and the need for change in this state. If you had a new governor today, what would the first point of order be?
Voter reform.
In which way? Like how?
No more mail-in ballots.
Okay.
I think we should go strictly back to the polls and then reevaluate taxes and where our money's going to.
And it's interesting because I don't remember what state it was, but they had it where as soon as you register your vehicle, you automatically registered your voter registration. So you could have illegals that would actually register a vehicle. Right. And then automatically get registered to vote. I think might have been in New York, maybe. It might have been in New York.
We do that here, too.
Wonderful.
For driver's license. So
okay,
as soon as you register for your driver's license.
But don't you think to a certain degree that that doesn't need to happen? I mean, that needs to be a completely separate transaction.
Absolutely. I feel like there's so many different solutions, like a Social Security number. Have it attached to your Social Security number. We know that if you're alive or dead, so if we know that unique number has been used multiple times, or
that 97 F-150 that you have in the backyard, that doesn't indicate that you're still alive and you're still voting.
Yeah, because Grandpa, left that to his grandkids a long time ago, and he's no longer.
He's no longer with us.
But he's still voting.
He's still voting. If he's in Arizona, he's still voting.
Well, if he's definitely in California, he's still voting. He voted twice.
And also, I want to mention, we will be in Arizona on October 10th for Carrie Lake. Got to make it a special announcement.
I love her.
Everyone loves Carrie Lake, right?
It's her voice.
It's her voice. And, and it was funny. The news that broke yesterday with Katie Hobbs, everyone was blowing up my phone going, is Katie Hobbs not the governor of Arizona? She stepped down for a day and someone else has been sworn in? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I looked on Twitter and you saw these stories that were kind of trending, and that Katie Hobbs was in D.C., but she was meeting with Biden. It was so confusing. I don't know what the hell happened yesterday.
Did that go away, or is it still present?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
A dream?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I thought it was it sounded like a dream. No, the dream is they found out that she lost, and Carrie Lake comes in.
Now
That's the dream. Yeah, now the governor. It's as simple as that. But anyway, a lot needs to be done in this state. And I was talking about how beautiful the state is. It's got so many natural resources. Obviously, the culture, the beach, the weather. I mean, my goodness. This state has it all. But, man, it has its problems, too. But it's only by man. These are man-made problems here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, unfortunately, I don't believe from what I've seen of the people that live in California, a very, very, very small group votes for that government.
It's insane. Now, do they vote for that government because they hate the alternative so much? Like, they hate the people?
Well, I again, and I'll circle back to this. I'm not a circle back kind of person, but I'm circling back.
We're gonna Jen Psaki circle back here.
But our college systems are grooming and indoctrinating a new group of voters. And like I said, you see it in different conservative states, red states. Where there's a good university, there's a infiltration of new voters.
And the thing is, you have such a university system here in California. I mean, you have some really mega schools here that I would imagine are like the farm league for future activists and future libs.
But if you also look at California, we have the most electoral votes.
Yeah.
We have the most corrupt politicians in DC, and they all come from California.
Yeah.
So you gotta ask yourself, why are all these people coming out of California?
Yeah.
And why aren't we focusing more on California to solve the solution?
It's crazy when you look at Eric Swalwell and the Chinese spy that he was with, and he was on an intelligence committee at that. I mean, why that? But that was just normal, right? That wasn't out of the ordinary. Swalwell sleeping with a Chinese spy, and then there's no problem with him being on an intelligence committee. Then you have Nancy Pelosi. Now we all have an opinion of Nancy Pelosi, right?
Right.
But she was a very smart Speaker of the House. Let me tell you what she did. She kept that House in order. She kept everybody together, and they voted they voted the right way every single time, and they voted to defeat Republicans. Republicans, we're fighting amongst each other. Like, we feel like we can't take two steps without arguing with somebody. And so I'll give Nancy Pelosi credit. She really kept that base together.
Yes.
And she really did not allow the progressives to come in and overtake their party, which I think was probably a smart move.
Right.
Because the squad would overtake it. I will say this about Kevin McCarthy. A lot of people have a very critical of Kevin McCarthy. I have been an outspoken supporter of him. And when I say supporter, I'm giving the man some time. We've been in 6, 7, 8 months. I'm giving some progress here. We've done a lot of good things from Kevin McCarthy. But he fundraises like nobody's business. He has out-fundraised every Republican that we've ever had in that seat and in Congress. Every one of them. And it takes money, as we all know, to win elections. So what he has done is he's fundraised, and he's enabling us to keep the seats that we need to keep.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean, but it's difficult. I mean, a lot of people, I kind of often say, Sarah, we're the party of never happy. Never happy. No matter what happens, we're never happy. It's like, why can't we learn to just have some patience?
Right.
But we've lost all patience.
Well, we've lost a lot.
Yeah, we have lost a lot. We have lost a lot.
We've lost a lot. So patience is, I think, the least of what we lost.
Yeah. All right, we're going to step aside here and let you see the scene. All right, so boy, I can tell, Sarah, that it's hustling and bustling. Maybe they're waiting for everyone to be seated. But I think, look, you and I both know, if they were to say, ladies and gentlemen, take your seat, we are moments away from the program, people would finish up that meal really quick.
I think they did announce, take your seats for lunch, and I think that they were disappointed.
I don't know. By the way,
I'm here for lunch.
The food smells great, by the way.
I know it does.
And I could go for some food right now because I feel like I'm about to pass out because I'm getting hungry and thirsty. So
Yes.
when he goes on stage, I think I'm going to probably do what you did earlier and get me something to
Take
drink.
a little-
Drink it all. It is 1:15. So glad you're joining us. Hey, if people want to follow you, Sarah, let's give out the social media handles for that.
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Sarah, SARAH _Jane, JANE _ Rodriguez, RODRIGUEZ.
There you go. And it's funny about social media. The other day, I was on the Capitol steps, and I tried to jump on Facebook Live. I thought I was going to live stream a war protest, right?
Oh, wow.
I jumped on Facebook Live. I've got about 6,300 followers on Facebook. Not a big following on Facebook. Do you want to guess how many viewers I had when I jumped on my account that had 6,300 plus viewers? Just guess.
500,000.
One.
What?
I had one viewer.
So are
Michael
you
Manuel,
blocked?
who's my friend. So I think thanks, Michael, who actually fought. But think about that for a second. How shadow banned am I if I jump on Facebook Live and I get one viewer? And the images were the Capitol and people yelling and it's I mean, it wasn't like I was showing grass growing here. It was
Do you want to know how many I have on Facebook?
on Facebook. Followers?
Followers, I have about, I don't Facebook much. Twitter, I had a lot of followers. They took my Facebook and they took my Twitter. So I can't post anything on Facebook. I can
So
only
you're gone.
message.
Your Facebook is closed?
It's gone. It's there. My Twitter, they actually took and it was down.
So before that, how many followers did you have? But before
I had about 200,000 on,
okay, so before,
on Twitter.
Wow. Okay, so before censorship or freedom of speech, you were thriving. Your message was
Right.
getting out, and Sarah was saying whatever Sarah wanted.
I said a lot. I was also working with the man himself, so my Twitter kind of got taken down. I believe it was the same time his Twitter got taken, so we were contacted and said, how's everybody's social media? And I'm like, well, damn it, mine's gone.
Damn it, mine's gone. A lot of people woke
Elon.
up. Yeah, a lot of people woke up and said, "Damn it, I can't log in." What happened to it? I remember after January 6th, that was a pivotal point with social media because YouTube sent out a letter that said, you cannot mention Donald Trump. Do not mention January 6th. Do not. I mean, it was like, do not say these things. These community guidelines. Now, since then, they have rolled back. Do not talk about the election. Do not talk about COVID. Do not talk. Don't criticize this. I mean, it was some major things. And to Rumble's credit, Rumble was an open, kind of a free speech platform on that. Well, it looks like we got maybe some people walking in.
Oh, it's the conga line. We're doing a conga line.
We got a Congo line in here. Let's see if we can get the Congo line.
Everybody's so excited.
So, hey, things are getting exciting when a Congo line breaks out at noon.
We have my favorite sheriff, Chad Bianco, right there.
Oh, yeah. I do see him.
We should bring him up here.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to go grab him,
Okay.
yeah, go grab him. You can put that down real quick. Go grab him. Sarah's going to go grab her favorite sheriff and see if we can get him over here for an interview. But, things are getting exciting here in California when the Congo line breaks up during the lunch buffet. Now, from someone who covers the rallies extensively, this is really no big surprise to me to see this break out. But they're having some fun here. A little fun here on this Friday. Looks like Sarah's coming up with the sheriff, and we'll have a few words with him before the start of the speech. All right. So, well, now we're live. Hey, how you doing? Brian Glenn with Right Side Broadcasting. Good to have you on. We're live, by the way. So, just to let you know.
Lovely. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I just had to grab him. I saw you over there, and I'm like, we were just talking about the importance of being a sheriff in California and how you all you mostly have stepped up and saved our counties and what we're going through within the government. So
Well,
we appreciate you greatly.
Thank you for saying that. I will continue to do my absolute best to protect our freedoms, our safety. We know we're in a mess here in California
Yes,
with
we
public
are.
safety, and we're doing everything we can to convince our politicians to help us out. But in the meantime, I can tell you that with our police chiefs and my fellow sheriffs, we're doing everything we can to help all of you.
Well, and honestly, you're the only ones that have saved us as a community, as residents here. And I was just talking about the importance of your role and how a lot of people don't know that, you know, your role as a sheriff is the most important, highest ranked in the country.
Yeah, I understand that, and I certainly I respect it, and I would never ever take advantage of that, and I will honor the will of our voters to do everything I can for them.
Now, have you seen a lot of like repercussions of your, you know, within your stance, like
of course,
budgets?
the governor hates me, the attorney general hates me. You know, we have a weaponizing the government against us. I mean, that's a real thing that's happening to Riverside County now.
Yeah.
So, but we'll deal with it. We have nothing to hide, and we have nothing to worry about. We'll just let them act like children, and we'll do everything we can to just keep pushing forward.
What's your biggest challenge in Riverside County, in your area? What's your biggest challenge right now?
Drugs, probably. I mean, fentanyl, the border, and they politicize it with people, and they want to make it about people, but the reality is the amount of drugs that are coming across the border right now that are poisoning our communities. Homeless is getting worse and worse and worse, and the addiction is getting worse and worse and worse, causing more mental health issues, and those are the things that we have to deal with. So the quality of life issues really are directly related to the amount of drugs coming in, human trafficking coming in, those types of things. When our legislators won't help us, when they make matters worse, I mean, it's almost like we're getting it from both sides. So it's an uphill battle, it's an uphill swim, but we're doing everything we can.
President Trump is going to speak in here in a few minutes. What would you like for, if he was to take over your state for one day, what would you like for him to do? I mean, I know close the border maybe, or
I'm sure he would do that, and whether it's close the border or just fix the border, that's number one. Public safety is huge to him, and he makes no qualms about saying that public safety is big. We have to be safe, and we're not here in California. For me, and especially in the position that I have, that's what I would say. Public safety has to be number one. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or something in between or outside, everybody has to be safe. We can't have a civilized society without law enforcement.
You can't take your girls to school or go to the grocery store if you don't feel safe in your community.
No, but again, we'll circle back to We'll circle back to the CCW. I appreciate our sheriffs that are very, you know, CCW friendly. I don't know how to word that.
And we're honoring law-abiding citizens' right
absolutely.
to carry a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And we put them through background investigations and background checks. This
Training,
whole law that he just signed that he was so proud of does absolutely nothing to keep you safe.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. All it does is the law-abiding citizens that we've already given CCWs to, or that we will give CCWs to, it prevents them from actually carrying it anywhere. So they're less safe. The bottom line is a criminal is not going to go to 16 hours of training.
Right.
A criminal is not going to come ask me if he can carry a gun and ask a permit to do it. It's only law-abiding people that want to protect themselves.
And that's who's
this is a
risk.
smokescreen for eliminating the Second Amendment in California. I've personally, especially with our Attorney General, have begged him to stop lying to the general public. Show me where these stats are that law-abiding residents commit crimes. It goes against any amount of common sense. Criminals commit crimes, not law-abiding residents. So they're lying to the general public. They're trying to convince us that of something that is just not true, lying about statistics, and then they pass this bill and they're proud of it.
What about the elections? You know, we've often heard, I know Mike Lindell came out earlier and said the most powerful man in your area, if you see election fraud or some type of violation, is your sheriff. To go get your sheriff and say, hey, this is what I'm finding. Do you anticipate, I mean, did it happen in 2020? Did anybody reach?
It did. We had to initiate several investigations because of people complaining and what they were bringing forth as evidence, and we had to make sure that it was true. The reality for at least Riverside County is all I can speak to. You cannot say there wasn't any fraud, because we certainly found fraud. Did we find enough to influence an election? Not in Riverside County. There was individual people that were committing election fraud, and we've identified some of those. We're working on the prosecutions, did we identify any type of mass election fraud in Riverside County? No. But I have to encourage everybody out there, if you have some type of evidence, you need to bring it forth so your sheriff or your official in your county can investigate it.
Yeah, that's important, because he has the power to do a lot, and a lot of people didn't know that. I didn't know that when he was talking about that. I didn't know that that's kind of under your jurisdiction as well. Real quick, we were talking about smash and grabs, big thing. You kind of see that. We've seen the news clips. How is that in your county? Is that really targeted more to Los Angeles, and how do you fight that?
Well, interestingly enough, they have been so emboldened in LA County that for us in Riverside County, San Bernardino County, and Orange County, they're venturing from Los Angeles into our counties to commit these crimes. So we actually enforce the law in Riverside County. I am very, very proactive. I would venture to say that there isn't anyone more proactive of an agency than us. They may be equal, but not more. And we do everything we can to identify them, prevent them, identify them if it happens, and arrest them. And we're even finding that when we do arrest them, they're shocked. They're like, well, why are you arresting us? You're not even supposed to chase us, or whatever the case may be. But we're finding they're from Los Angeles.
Oh, there you go.
So they're being emboldened, and if you're going to embolden criminals, that's the nature of the word. They just get more and more. They venture out.
Yeah, they're not scared of the law. Can you imagine us saying, why are you chasing me? Why are you following me? Why are you apprehending me? I just stole all this stuff, but you're supposed to just let me go.
Well, they've made it
you're not in Kansas anymore.
That's right.
You're in Riverside County.
That's right. And what our legislators have done with this whole Prop 47 that is destroying our state, this $950 limit to theft, where you're basically, they go in with calculators and they just make sure they pick things that are less than $1,000, and then
a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's right. And then they leave and they walk out, and nobody stops them. And it's an ongoing
Or if you're
battle.
Lululemon, the owner actually criticizes the employees for trying to stop somebody from robbing something in the store. Look, if I'm working in a retail store and somebody's robbing that store, I'm stepping up. I'm taking as many people out as I can, because I'm not scared of them. And I think we have to have that approach, because right now the criminals, they run the streets.
Well, if you're not going, it's like your children. If you've raised children, the more you give them, the more they want, and the more they get away with, the worse it gets. So if we're not going to hold people accountable, if we're going to just keep letting them, there's no consequence for breaking the law, then why would they not break the law? And that's where our state is right now, is they are very, very, they've jumped on this whole words, where words mean things psychologically. So to call something police reform, everybody can get behind police reform. I'm behind police reform.
In the right way.
Absolutely, if that's really what it is. Yeah. But police reform has taken on, let's let everybody out of jail. No one else will ever go to prison for anything. And let's stop the police from being able to do their jobs. Let's demonize them and embolden criminals to make more victims. And that's where we are in California.
I know you work closely with law enforcement.
Yep.
You see these challenges all the time.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. And it's different throughout the state, but we're definitely appreciative of you and what you stand for. And
everybody needs a guy like him in their town.
Every county.
See, I could never be in law enforcement. You know why? And I'm going to be very truthful here. I'd shoot first and then ask questions. That doesn't work out very well.
We don't do that. We're very proud of the professionalism. I am very proud of the professionalism of our department. We do everything we can. I'll even tell you, recently, I'm not afraid to say the bad things too. We have arrested several of our employees in the last couple of weeks, but the bottom line is the worst thing for good cops is bad cops, and we don't want them in law enforcement. So we do everything we can to identify them.
You have also suffered a lot of loss within your department the last year.
We have. We lost 4 on-duty deaths in the first 5 months of the year, and it was almost catastrophic for the mental wellness of our agency.
Right.
So how would somebody, if someone wants to, there's a labor shortage, right? Obviously, How many people are you short in your department? I mean, is there a massive need to hire right now?
Not for us.
Not for
We're maintaining attrition, so we're hiring to maintain attrition. And the reason being is we have plenty of people that want to come work for us. There's a certain mentality, I think, of people that want to serve in law enforcement.
Leadership, that's why.
It is all about leadership.
I'll agree with you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to have him up there. I feel safe letting he's up here, too. All right.
See you tomorrow. All right. Thank you so much.
That was a treat. Okay, I'll tell you what. I think they're... Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's step aside. We're going over some of the sponsors right now. What a treat they did that. That guy's great.
He is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, and I talk about our sheriffs being such an influence on loving living here. He is absolutely one of the best.
It comes down to leadership, because you can tell, and when he says, I don't have a problem hiring people,
Well, exactly.
It's because they want to work for him.
People have left departments to go work for Riverside County just to be under his leadership, because he stands up for his men and women.
Just give him a heads up when he gets my application. Just tell him to reject it, because I am a risk, because I don't tolerate the crime.
They ride a lot of horses out there.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, we're glad you're joining us. Once again, share this broadcast. It's on a Friday. Hey, we've got we got special extended coverage after this speech. We're going to transition into the motorcade. While we transition from point A to point B, we're going to replay some previous Trump speech from the other night, and then we will dip into the motorcade coverage as we get to where we're going. I want you guys to stick around for that, because that is going to be very exciting. We're glad you're here on this Friday. The California GOP, Sarah Rodriguez, Brian Glenn joining you here from beautiful Anaheim, California. We're so glad you're joining us. Here we go. Let's go to the program.
Please join me in welcoming our chairwoman, Jessica Patterson.
Thank you. Before we begin, please, everybody, could you stand? We have our Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation. First, I'd like to welcome up Deacon Mario Guerra to lead us in the prayer.
Good afternoon. I came to this great country as a refugee, as a little boy escaping communism. We came with nothing but faith and the courage of my parents, and I learned at an early age that true strength lies in a person's determination. I learned that dreams can create your future. This country allowed me to work hard, become the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey, a city that literally sent man to the moon. It allowed me to build one of the largest firms in the country in my field, serve as a police chaplain for over 20 years, and serve today as a civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army, serving my third presidential administration and fourth Army Secretary. I thank God daily for what this country represents. And I am grateful to be able to pray together with all of you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we gather here today in your name, united in our shared commitment to the principles and values that define us. Today, as we honor our past with gratitude, we ask for your help to prepare our future. As we come together this weekend, let us invoke the spirit of unity and strength and purpose that has guided us through our history. In this moment, let us reflect on the responsibility we bear as stewards of your great nation and the immense potentials that lie within each and one of us. We thank you for the calling to be signs of love and peace in your world. Almighty God, we humbly come before you in gratitude for the blessings bestowed upon this country, and we acknowledge that it is by your divine providence that we stand here today, bound by a common vision of liberty, opportunity, and individual rights. We ask you, Heavenly Father, to guide our leaders from local governments to the highest offices in our land, to make decisions rooted in integrity and the pursuit of the common good. Grant them the courage to stand firm in the face of adversity, to champion the values that we have made our nation prosper, and to lead with humility and compassion. We ask you, Heavenly Father, to always protect those who protect us, our military, our police and our fire, and our first responders. And we ask for special blessings always for our veterans who have served our country. And as we leave this gathering, may we be inspired to carry the torch of liberty with unwavering dedication. Grant us the strength to overcome challenges, the resilience to learn from our setbacks, and the unwavering commitment to fight for the principles that define us. In your divine grace, we ask for your blessings upon all of us, upon our party leaders, and upon all those who work tirelessly to advance the cause of freedom. May our actions be guided by righteousness, and may our nation continue to shine as a beacon of hope and opportunity. As a country, may we look to our future, united in faith, confident in hope, and renewed in love. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
I love it when the invocation gets applause. Thank you, Mario. Please remain standing as Walt Allen leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you help me honor our great country by joining me in our pledge? Put your right hand over your heart. Veterans and active duty personnel, you can salute. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please take your seats. What a kickoff to the California Republican Party 2023 Fall Convention. The energy in this room is electric. I am proud to be here this weekend with so many Republicans that are gearing up for the 2024 elections. California Republicans are once again ready to fight against Democrat incompetence and elect candidates that offer common sense solutions to our state and our nation's challenges. I am honored to introduce this afternoon's speaker, President Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States. President Trump launched a historic political movement. He mobilized voters with massive rallies, reached America's hearts and minds with his vision, and took home states that no Republican presidential candidate had won in decades. Through his policies on trade, taxes, energy, regulation, and immigration, President Trump ushered in a period of unprecedented economic growth, job creation, soaring wages, and booming incomes. Under President Trump's leadership, the United States became the #1 producer of oil and natural gas on Earth. And achieved American energy independence. He ushered in historically low costs for oil, gas, diesel, and electricity to consumers and business. We remember the day that Joe Biden took office. Gas in California was $3.36 per gallon. Today, Californians are paying $6.08 a gallon. President Trump produced a booming economic recovery and a record low unemployment for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, and women. Most recently, he also won the Senior Club Championship at Bedminster, shooting around a 67. At At this time, I'd like to have you all direct your attention to the screens.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings, and we're not.
Inflation in the U.S. is now at 6.5% higher in December compared to a year ago.
A state of emergency at the Texas border.
We turn to the other news this Sunday night and to the somber homecoming for the 13 brave Americans killed in Thursday's attack at the Kabul airport.
You're a golfer. Yeah. Why don't you just play golf? Why would you want to give up a great life and go back to that hellhole?
Because I love the country.
Donald Trump wins the presidency.
Crews break ground on a new section of wall along the U.S.-Mexico border.
We have seen month after month of solid job growth.
And we are going to make our country great again. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around. I just told them I've got to come over and see the fake news. Let's go. We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. No challenge can match the heart and fight and spirit of America. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. My fellow Americans, our movement is far from over. In fact, our fight has only just begun.
Be advised, the president is en route.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the
What a crowd. Thank you. What a crowd. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm thrilled to be in this beautiful place. Boy, are they messing up California, but we're thrilled to be here with the conservative patriots who are leading the charge to take back this state from the radical left lunatics. The first step to saving California begins Super Tuesday. You know Super Tuesday? March 5th, 2024, the same day that the radical left Democrats are taking me to trial. I wonder how that happened. I don't think it's going to happen either. It's disgraceful what they're doing. With your support in this election, we're going to win the California primary in a very big, beautiful, historic landslide. And you know, most candidates would get, but then we're going to win California. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll say it a little bit differently, because we would win California in a general election if they didn't have a rigged voting system where they send out 22 million ballots. Think of that, all mail-in ballots, 22 million ballots. People getting 5 ballots, 6 ballots. Nobody knows where they're going, who they're going to, who signs them, who delivers them, and who the hell counts them. Nobody knows. We would win. You should see the crowds of people outside. You wouldn't believe it. It makes you look like small-timers, okay? Now, if anybody would like to give up your seat for some of the people outside, we will do that. Would anybody raise your hand? Other than that, it's a very well-run election system. Other than those little things, it's a disaster. It's a rigged system, and it's a shame that it's been allowed to go on for so long. It's really sad. Every time I come here, we have the biggest crowds, and then I'm told automatically that if you're a Republican running for president, you'll lose by 5 to 10 points. We don't lose by 5 to 10. Maybe some others would, but we're not going to lose by 5. We're going to win. We would win. I don't believe it when they say it, but the state is rigged. It's a rigged election. It's a horrible thing, and we have to turn it back. This is a state that the right Republican can win, and I think actually win easily. And all you have to do is go outside and look at what's going on in the streets outside, and it's with love, too, tremendous love. There's not a lot of people, there's no people that are negative, actually. No way we lose this state in a real election. If this was a real election, there's no way. If we had a real election with the real polling booths, if you had real polling, you don't have any polling booths. You have people signing something, dropping it in the mail, then who the hell knows what happens after that? It's ridiculous. But if we had polling booths, same-day voting, voter ID, and no mail-in ballots other than for those who are legitimately very sick or in faraway military, we would win this state by a lot. And I don't know why more people aren't bringing that up and talking about it, because it's really something you have to do, but we're going to get it done when we win the big one, because we're leading by a lot. We're going to go over some polls, if you'd like to. Don't forget, we're going over polls. I only talk about polls when I'm doing well. Remember that, please. But when we win, we're going to come in here and you're going to straighten out your election, because we need fair and free elections in this country, and California doesn't have it. We have open borders. We have rigged elections. That's not a bad thing for the enemy to watch, that I can tell you. And they talk about it all the time. I'll solve the border problems within 24 hours of taking office. We had the safest borders in the history of our country just 3 years ago. But the rigged election has to be solved by you, the people, and we're going to start working on it right now. But I want to put those thoughts in your head. We have to bring it back. We have to get rid of this mail-in ballot stuff. You know, Jimmy Carter, I know a lot of you think that he wasn't a great president, but actually, compared to Biden, he was one of the greatest presidents. The happiest person on earth right now is Jimmy Carter, because he said, darling, I'm no longer a bad president, because compared to this guy, when I'm president, that will be a
primary focus, your election, and other things that we're going to talk about together having to do with California. Nonetheless, we're going to crush crooked Joe Biden next November. We're going to make California great again, and we're going to make America great again. We are going to make it great. I want to begin by thanking California Republican Party Chair Jessica Milan Patterson for the introduction, as well as doing a fantastic job as RNC National Committeeman and the chair of this whole group of incredible people. And your National Committee man is Sean Steele, and Committee woman is a friend of mine, a person that actually wins cases for us, Harmeet Dillon. Where is Harmeet? Where is Harmeet? She's around here someplace with her incredible husband. Her incredible husband. Will you stand up? I hear he likes me, Harmeet, more than you do, and I think... Thank you both very much for being here. Seriously, she's done a fantastic job, and we love her. Along with a tough cookie, I want to tell you he did such a great job in the administration. A friend of yours, a person that loves your state a lot, Rick Grinnell. Rick Grinnell. And a fantastic, thank you, Rick, great job. Tough guy. This guy's tough. And a fantastic mayor. We just flew over Huntington Beach. We flew over Tony's beautiful place on earth, and he keeps it. You don't have problems over there, Tony. Where's Tony? Tony Strickland. You don't have the problems that other beaches have, do they? You don't have encampments sitting on the ocean. No, you've done a great job. We just flew over on the plane. They did a big thing, and I was talking to all the people, thousands and thousands of people. I'm speaking from my plane. I said, this is different, but it looked beautiful. You've done a fantastic job as mayor. Thank you very much, Tony. But Tony is showing how we can fight for voter integrity and cleaning up the homelessness and all of the other things that you have to do to make a place work. I mean, you have to do it. And I'm honored today. As you know, I was really honored to get his endorsement, because his endorsement was very meaningful to me. Thank you very much for that endorsement, Tony. We won't let you down. And I'm also honored to have the endorsement of former Lake Forest Mayor, somebody very, very respected, Scott Voigt. Where's Scott? Scott, thank you very much. Great honor, Scott. Thank you. You did a great job. For generations, California was known as the embodiment of the America West, American culture, and America's future, and our great American dream. You don't hear about the American dream anymore, do you? You used to hear the American dream. The American dream, there's no American dream with Biden, most corrupt president in our history. The Golden State gave us the gold rush, the Golden Gate Bridge, and the golden age of Hollywood. What glamour, what beautiful glamour. If they ever came back from the dead, they'd look and say, what the hell happened to our state? Can you imagine? That was a glamorous time. Now they would look and they would say, this can't be happening. It built Liberty ships, the Sunset Strip, Disneyland, and the Internet and the iPhone. So many things came out of California. It was California that first elected public office Republican presidents. How about that? Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan. Both. Both. But while California was once a symbol of American success, today, under the radical left fascists and Marxists that run your state, that's who's running your state. Bad people. It's becoming a symbol of our nation's decline. Gavin Newsom and the far-left communists in Sacramento. He did a great job as mayor of San Francisco, didn't he? But the far-left communists in Sacramento, San Francisco, and L.A., cities which are absolutely being destroyed rapidly on a daily basis, have given you sanctuary cities, wide-open borders, mass homeless encampments, out-of-control taxes, soaring income, inequality like nobody's ever seen before, Marxist district attorneys, woke tech tyrants, they are woke, rolling blackouts, child sexual mutilation, and roving bands of looters, criminals, and thugs. But other than that, I think they're doing quite a good job. Those things are all true. What a mess. How the hell do people vote for these people? You, the courageous patriots of California, Republican Party, are now the last line of defense standing between this state and total anarchy. And I am here to tell you that help is on its way. Help is on its way. Can't go on like this. Can't go on like this. We can't go on like this. We won't have a country left. The mission to help you liberate California from communist rule begins at noon on Inauguration Day, 2025. 2025. We got to make. I'll tell you, the election of 24 is the single most important election in the history of our country. I used to say it about 16. It's the most important, and it was. But this is more important because we're going to lose our country. Our country's going to hell. Our country's being destroyed. Together we will take on the ultra-left-wing liars, losers, creeps, perverts, and freaks who are devouring the future of this state like a swarm of locusts. And we'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi, who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? And she's against building a wall at our border, even though she has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job. But then you have Kamala Harris. She's great. Gavin Newsom, who's a really... I mean, I watched him the other night with Sean Hannity trying to say that California is wonderful. It's not wonderful. We all know it. It was wonderful. It could be wonderful again, but right now it's really a mess. Maxine Waters, very nice woman, very, very nice. How come she can say things so violently? You will go in and attack them in a restaurant. You'll do this, that. Nothing happens. If I say peacefully and patriotically, oh, there's an insurrection going on here. Maxine Waters, if I ever spoke like her, it would be the electric chair times 15 for me. The man who fell in love with a Chinese spy that they wouldn't take off their top committee, most important committee, Eric Swalwell. What a loser. And then you have, of course, my favorite, Shifty Adam Schiff, pencil neck. He's known for one thing, the world's smallest neck. You ever see? I call him pencil neck. If you touched him, his neck would break. And we will defeat their corrupt California political machine. No, Shifty Schiff is really, I mean, he is a sick person, that guy. Looks like he won't be your next senator anymore because he'll have somebody else put in and then he won't be able to run. Purgatory! Ah, that's too bad. I don't know that he would have won anyway, but now he probably won't be able to run, and he won't run against certain people because he wants to be politically correct, except when it comes to doing numbers on Republicans and keeping it going and hurting our country. But it would look to me like he won't be there, but he's a disaster, that guy. They're all disasters. Crazy Nancy is a total disaster. She's nuts. Remember her with a beauty parlor, walking through the beauty parlor? Nobody else is to have their hair done. Then you have her. I don't know what happened to the owner of the beauty. You know, she's a big MAGA person. How about that? Think Nancy was thrilled when she learned that the owner of that beauty parlor, where they taped her walking through with the hair and the whole thing, everyone else is like home, using suds on the hair like I do. But I'm the only candidate who will do what it takes to get this job done. And remember, we have to get rid of mail-in ballots. We have to do it. And I was going to tell you, though, before we got off on a tangent, and we talked about Jimmy in a different way, but Jimmy actually had a commission which was very important at the time. And his one basic finding, his most important, was don't use mail-in ballots They can't work. They will be corrupt. You'll have corrupted elections and lots of other things. But basically, it was a mail-in ballot statement after many months of him and some of the other senior Democrats. They literally came to a conclusion. You can't use mail-in ballots. So what do? We're always trying to expand them. You know, in France, they use mail-in ballots, and they found they were so corrupt that they gave them up, and they recently had an election, 36 million people, 36 million voted. By 10 o'clock in the evening, you had a winner, you had a loser, and it was over. And nobody complained. They went to all paper with little ID. You ever see what it is to get into the Democrat convention? They had the Democrat National, I call it the Democrat. You know, they like to call it the Democratic because it sounds better. I hate, you know, for a speech, it sounds lousy to say Democrat, but that's what it is. It's called the Democrat National Committee. I don't know why they don't change the name, but they always say, don't ever say that because it doesn't read well, but I say Democrat because it does sound bad, frankly. But did you ever see what you have to wear to get into their national convention prior to the presidential election for the primaries and all? You have to wear a thing, the largest sign I've ever seen. It looks like you're trying to sell groceries in a shop that's 2 blocks. It's like here. It's got your picture, it's got your fingerprints, it's got everything. They probably put Social Security numbers on. They put everything on. But for voting, you can't have anything. There's only one reason they don't want voter ID, because they want to cheat. That's the only reason. The only reason. No voter ID. You have ID on every credit card. You have it on everything. But think, and you know the people of the Democrat Party, it's 87% think that you should have voter ID. It's only the leaders, because their policies are so bad that they couldn't get elected. I mean, who's going to get elected with open borders, a woke military, high interest rates, high taxes, a country that's not respected anywhere in the world? We've totally lost our place in the world. Pretty soon we're going to lose our dollar as currency. It's the worst thing. That'll be worse than losing any war. They are so bad. And now I'm hearing the northern border is a problem. How about that one? The northern border. It's actually becoming less because the southern border is so bad they can say, you know, with me, they were trying because they couldn't get into it. We had the safest border in history. The safest border in history 3 years ago. All this guy had to do is go to the beach. Now, he's going to the beach all the time now. He's got a consultant. I don't know, Harmeet, if you know his consultant. He's got a consultant who thinks he looks good in a bathing suit, I guess. And he's at the beach every day. If he would have done that, instead of destroying all of the things we did, we had the greatest stay in Mexico, a little thing called remain in Mexico. We had the greatest catch and release. We used to catch and release them in our country. Our catch and release was you catch them, release them in Mexico. And Mexico was fine with it, because if they weren't, we were going to put tariffs on their cars like you wouldn't believe. And they said, we'd love to have you do whatever you want to do, sir. Together we will reverse the decline of America, and we will end the desecration of your once great state, California. This is not a great state anymore. This is a dumping ground. You're a dumping ground. The world is being dumped into California. Prisoners, terrorists, mental patients. You have mental institutions. They say, sir, please don't use the words insane asylum, because that's, you know, that's Silence of the Lambs stuff. That's big stuff. Mental institutions, sir, is nicer. I said, no, I think I'll mention both. Mental institutions and then times 10, insane asylum. They're all being dropped. They're all being dropped into our country. We're a dumping ground. When I was president, I got along with Gavin Newsom, but I didn't like what he was doing. Very simple. I liked him. You know, he always goes around telling me we had a very good relationship. We had a good relationship, but I didn't like what he was doing. The people of California don't have water. They pay a fortune for the water. You know, I own something in Palos Verdes. Anybody play my big, beautiful club on the ocean? I actually think it's the best golf course in California, but beautiful with the clubhouse, everything, right on the ocean. And this is really on the ocean. I always say, I have the ocean, Pebble Beach has the bay. There's a big difference. It's true. They talk about Pebble Beach, Pebble Beach. No, no. I have the ocean, they have the bay. You know, the ocean tends to be better. Historically, oceans are better than bays. Do we agree, right? But I have to pay a fortune for water. To water the grass, I have to pay a fortune. If I told you the number, I don't even want to tell you the number. It's embarrassing. And you have so much water, and we're going to talk about that. But during that period of time, I got to know California quite a well. You know, I've owned that for a long time, and it's become a tremendous success. But the taxes that you have to pay and all of the things you have to pay, it's a very, very hard way to make a buck in the state. Very hard to do it. At one point, I was riding up a highway with a number of great congressmen, like Devin Nunes at the time, you know, Devin. He's heading up Truth Social. He left. He would have been the top guy in Congress. He wanted to do that. He's doing a phenomenal job. Is everybody on Truth, please? Better than any of them, Truth. And he's now the president and doing an unbelievable job. You know, he's the one that figured out Russia. I said, anybody that can figure out Russia can head up Truth Social. Do you agree? And he and Jim Jordan, they got the Presidential Medal of Freedom because they did such a great job. But at one point with Devin and some of his friends, congressmen, great ones, still there, we were riding up a highway and we're fighting so hard. They were fighting so hard for water rights. They actually said, could you come? We don't have any water. I said, no, I didn't know you had a drought. It's a man-made drought. You know that? Man/women. It's a women-made. I don't know. I don't think women did that, no. Women are too smart to do that. They don't create droughts. No, it's a man-made drought. Let's leave it man-made. I think women will be honored when I say that. But during the trip up the highway, I noticed massive amounts of farmland. It was all over the place, miles and miles. It was absolutely dry and dead. You could see, you know, I'm a real estate guy. I could see the soil was so beautiful, but it was just dry and absolutely dead. Except, does everyone know what I'm talking about? Except for little tiny patches where it was so beautiful, so green. It was greener than any farm I've seen. It was just beautiful. And I asked, what's going on here? Why is it that that land is so fertile, but right next to it for miles and miles, it's just empty, looks like a desert? And they said, because we're in a man-made drought. That's what they called it. We have a man-made drought. I said, what's a man-made drought? He said, we have tremendous amounts of money and other things coming at us to fight this, but it doesn't do any good because Newsom and any Democrat governor, they won't allow us to have water. You know, you have massive amounts of water coming down from up north. So I said, all right, I can understand about the water, but I don't understand why would they do that? Why are these patches so magnificently green? And it's a very small percentage of the land. They go, well, they allow us to water only these small areas, but most of the farmland they don't let us even touch. They won't let us touch it. If I could do it, it would be billions of billions if they changed this. And we worked on it, and I'll explain that. It would be billions and billions of extra dollars coming into the state and coming into our country. And we have the water. And I said, what about a desalinization plant? Well, people don't like them because, you know. I said, what about a nice, big, beautiful But they said, we don't really need it, sir. We have so much water, we wouldn't know what to do with it. I said, explain, please. You know, I'm looking at this dry stuff. I said, explain. So much water, but up north, they have a valve. Do you ever see the valve? A massive valve, like your kitchen valve, but multiplied times 10,000. It's the size of this room. And all the water gets turned out and turned into the Pacific Ocean. Do you know that? You have so much water? So sad to see this. I mean, these people, it's so stupid. But they don't want the water to come down all the way to Los Angeles and the Central Valley where we're constantly forced to ration. You have droughts. We're rich people in Beverly Hills. We don't feel so sorry for them, but I do actually. You know, they pay millions of dollars in taxes. They're taking a shower. They're told to hurry up. You're only allowed a small amount of water when they take a shower. That's why rich people from Beverly Hills, generally speaking, don't smell so good, you know. Typically. You ever notice? They're not great. Their hygiene is not good, but it's forced to be that way. So when you meet somebody with a beautiful house in Beverly Hills, you know that person is sort of disgusting underneath. But where you wash your hands and you're supposed to take no more than 30 seconds, they want a quick hands. And yet they're paying millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Millions of dollars, these people. And whether it's rich people or people that are just paying a small amount of that, you're allowed to have water, and you can have it for free. For free. You know, we have all those canals. They're dry as a bone. So now in Los Angeles, when you have a new home, you have faucets, washing machines, dishwashers, all of the things, but very little water is allowed to come out. Like, as an example, I stayed in one of those houses, and they had a shower head. And I want to really work hard on my hair, and I don't want to take it. And I turned on the water. I thought the pipes were broken. They said, no. They call it a restrictor. They have restrictors in the thing. So no water comes out. So I'm standing outside, drip, drip. Can't wash the damn hair. The house, $35 million house, and you can't take a shower. Honestly, it's a bad way of life. I mean, it really is. It sort of hurts, and everybody. This goes for everybody. This is all because Gavin Newsom and the radical left Democrats, extremists, and the people that run the state in order to save an extremely unimportant, very little and non-productive fish, the Delta smelt. Did you ever hear of it? Little fish. Do they have a picture of it? There it is. That little sucker is causing you to not be able to clean yourself. The Delta smelt. Because of that Delta smelt, you don't have any water, you don't have farms, you don't have anything. You're all going bust. And, you know, they were talking last year they're going to have to put massive amounts of restrictions on your water use. It's ridiculous, and then you pay a fortune for it, too. You have so much water, you have no idea. Millions and millions of gallons is sent out, is just turned out. You got to see this thing. Big, massive pipe, massive. And they turn. It takes a day. It goes boom. At the end of a day, it's turned into the Pacific Ocean. In fact, we should get Harmeet to bring a lawsuit on that one. That's a good lawsuit, Harmeet. That's a good one, Harmeet. That's big stuff. She wants to do it. She'll do it free because she lives in this area, right? She wants. But when I was president, all of the work was completed in the federal government to make the big change in the quality of life for California. You're going to have so much water, you wouldn't know what the hell to do with it. And you had the water. And the papers were done. I got it done at the Commerce Department. Believe it or not, it was mostly a commerce. Nobody ever thought that could be done. And that was the hard part. The state part was easy. All you have to do is get a governor to sign. But we did all the work. We went to him, Gavin Newsom. And he wouldn't sign it because he wanted to keep the environmental lunatics happy. These are lunatics. And we had it out. You wouldn't believe. But I'll tell you what, then we had COVID come in. We had a lot of things happening, and we did an incredible job. Look, we had the greatest economy in history. The greatest economy in history twice. We had it twice. But I had the federal government finish everything. All the paper was done. You were going to have so much water. You were going to say, please, please, Mr. President, don't give us any water. We're drowning in this water you're sending us. Coming from Canada, coming from up north when the snow melts, and we didn't know what the hell was going on. And you look at those, you know, we have all the infrastructure done. There are these big concrete bins where the water comes rushing down. They're also dry as hell now. They have weeds growing in them. And so it's all there. And the federal work was the hard part, and I got it done, but Gavin didn't want to do it. One of the first things I'm going to do when I get back into office for California is force Newsom to give you water. And by the way, the smelt is doing very badly. On top of everything else, I think it would do better if it had water, okay, to be honest. So much water that, you know, I mean, it's like just incredible, but the smelt is not doing well, but we're going to get the federal government to get everything done. We have it almost completed. It was totally completed, and I guarantee he will sign it very quickly if he's still the governor by that time. Who the hell knows? You had a recall. How did that work out? How did that work out? Well, one of the candidates running was doing well, and then they said, do you think the election was rigged and stolen? No, I don't. That was the end of his campaign. That was the end. They walked out. That was not a good thing to say, not a smart thing to say, and it wasn't truthful. I mean, the election was a disaster. But you'll have so much water, and it'll be a great thing. And some of the most fertile. I will tell you, for the farmers in the room, I don't know if you know it or not, but I got $28 billion for the farmers, some of the people, farmers here, from China. Who the hell else is going to get money from China? Who would ask for money? I said to the Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, I said, Sonny, because China took very big advantage of us during the Obama years, and really bad. And at the beginning of mine, I said, what's going on over here? And people would complain, and I figured it out. Said, how much damage have they caused the farmers over the last 3 or 4 years? They said, sir, about $28 billion. I say, all right, good. We're going to put a big tariff on. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. Nobody knows this. We put in tariffs on their cars coming and everything. In fact, the 27.5% tariff on the cars, they haven't gotten rid of it because so much money, it's so big that they cannot justify getting rid of it. It's unbelievable. You wouldn't have any car plants if I didn't have that. China would have been sending their cars at levels that nobody's ever seen before. But they paid us billions and billions. I took in $28 billion and gave it to the farmers. That's why I was told by my great professional, Susie Wiles, I was told by my great professionals over there that they said, sir, please don't say that. It sounds too obnoxious. I said, I don't mind being obnoxious because I'd say very strongly, I'd say there's no way I knew I could lose Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, any of the states. You have a lot of farming here. There's no way I could lose. No farmers ever voting. I gave them $28 billion from China. Nobody else would have asked for that. Could you imagine? You go up to Biden. He's a corrupt person. You go up to Biden, you say, I want you to ask China to pay $28 billion to our farmers. You know what he'd say? I can't do that. They paid me a fortune. I'm going to get myself in trouble. They paid him a fortune. You think he can go up and ask him? They'll say, we're going to expose you. You know, he's a Manchurian candidate. That's what he is. All the currently dry canals will be brimming and used to irrigate everything, including your own homes and bathrooms and everything. You're going to be happy, and I'm going to get it done fast. They say that there's so much water up north that I want to have the overflow areas go into your forests and dampen your forests, because if you dampen your forests, you're not going to have these forest fires that are burning at levels that nobody's ever seen before. You have very poor land management. And remember when I said that a couple of years ago as president, I said, man, we're sending billions of dollars to California for forest fires. Their forests are burning down. And I was with a gentleman, a very top person in Austria. He said, sir, we have more flammable trees than you do on your coast. We don't have forest fires. We have land management. They take care of the land. They pick up the dead trees. You know, a tree doesn't burn very easily unless it's dead. Then it gets dry and it burns. The leaves on the ground, they're 5 feet thick over here. They clean the floor. And everybody said, oh, how ridiculous management of a forest. You know, they all said, like, what the hell? But they don't have forest fires in properly run locations. What we have is horrible. And we can actually dampen our forests with water that costs us nothing, that will come pouring down from the north. Wouldn't that be nice? If you had dampened floors, you wouldn't have forest fires. So we'll work on that too. But I couldn't convince this guy, Gavin, to do it because he's an environmental maniac, only for political reasons. You know, he's no dummy. He knows it's wrong. He knows what they're doing is wrong. I watched him the other night being interviewed by the great Sean Hannity, and I said, you know, he understands it, but he's playing a game because that's the base, I guess. But it's, you know, people say to me, are you conservative? Yes, you're conservative, sir. I said, I'm conservative. But really what I am is a person of common sense. We need borders. We need elections. We need water. We need water for places like California, for your farmers. I mean, those farms would make a fortune. You know, it's among the best land in the world, and nobody knows it. Nobody can do anything about it because of the water. So we're going to get it all done. And if they don't do it, it's very simple. We're just going to say, that's okay. You take care of your own forest fires and all the other things that are happening, billions and billions of dollars, and they'll sign whatever they want. We had COVID come in, and that sort of changed our little direction for a little while. We had to do something there. We did a great job with that. You know, interestingly, when we had the COVID, we took a big hit. Every country in the world did. And by the time I gave it over to these lunatics, by the time we gave it over, the most incredible thing, our stock market was higher than it was just prior to COVID coming in. Nobody can even believe it. So it was higher than it was. And what they're doing is they're really running on the fumes of Trump. They're doing a terrible job, inflation, all that. And if you really look at the numbers with the inflation, how that's destroying. You know, inflation is called a country killer. You can look at countries over the last 200 years, big inflation like we have and have had, but like we have. I don't know if you looked at your gasoline today, $6. Oh, they said higher. I know. I heard $8. I didn't want to say it because I can't believe it. But you have, $8 gasoline in some parts of your area. And all over the country, gasoline's going way up. Don't forget, they kept it artificially low by taking the oil out of and the gas out of the strategic oil reserves. That's meant for wars. That's not meant to keep people's gasoline down so they can win an election. That's meant for very serious purposes. I got it filled up. Now it's at the lowest point it's ever been at. They drained it, and that was artificial. But that only lasts for a fairly short period of time. So now new records are being set at gasoline. Gavin has become crooked Joe Biden's top surrogate, I think, because he doesn't think Biden is going to make it. That's why he's doing it. He doesn't think he's going to make it, and it won't be him so easy. He's going to have a big fight. However, because there will be a lot of Democrats competing, it's going to be very interesting. But let's see. Look, some people say Biden's going to make it. Does anybody think he's going to make it to the starting gate? I mean, the guy can't find his way off of a stage. Look, here's a stage. Here's a stage. I've never seen this stupid stage before, right? I've never seen it. But if I walk left, there's a stair. And if I walk right, there's a stair. And this guy gets up. Where am I? Where the hell am I? Where am I? Nah, he's terrible. Terrible. You know, I'm much tougher on him than I used to be. Out of respect for the office, I was never like. He's the most corrupt president, the most incompetent president we've ever had. But when they indicted me, and then again and again and again, I was never indicted. Now I'm setting records. Al Capone was not indicted so much. Alphonse Capone. If you looked at Al Capone in the wrong way, he'd kill you. He was not indicted like me. I was never indicted. I didn't know. When they taught me at the Wharton School of Finance, they didn't talk about indictment. It's a disgrace what's happening. They've weaponized elections. They've done everything. I mean, these are very bad people. But I used to talk relatively nicely about them. I wouldn't go out of my way. I wouldn't say the things I say now. Now I'm just all in because these people are bad and they're dangerous, and we have to stop it. I wouldn't say what I say now. I never did. I'd joke. I'd have a little fun with it, but I wouldn't call him. I call him the worst president in history. I call him the most corrupt president in history, and I call him the most incompetent president. Other than that, he's doing a fabulous job, I think, ladies and gentlemen. He's doing a fabulous job. Along with crooked Joe Biden, Newsom is also killing our car industry. Your cars are ridiculous, what's happening, and crushing our great automakers in Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, crushing them. Under his leadership, this is Newsom, California has imposed the most ridiculous car regulations anywhere in the world with mandates to move to all-electric cars. The problem with an electric car, number one, you lose all your jobs because they're all going to be made in China and other countries. They're not going to be made here at all. I was up in the other day in Michigan, like the other night. We had an incredible crowd. And they were the United Auto Workers and others, but we were sort of focused on the auto workers. I said, you got to endorse Trump because I'm going to save your industry. We're going to have a thriving car industry. This lunatic is going to destroy. He's going to go all electric. Think about all electric. And I have no problem with electric. You should be able to buy an electric car. You should buy a gas-fired car. You should buy a hybrid. You should buy whatever the hell you want. I mean, some people like electric. If you want to drive for 14 minutes to the candy store, electric is very good. But if you actually want to get into a car and drive for a few hours, you know, they're doing a couple of other ones with electric. They're going electric crazy. It doesn't work. They want all electric army tanks now. Think of this. Think. So they want to have an army tank that's electric. You can't get it recharged. It doesn't go far enough. It doesn't go strong enough. But they want to have electric. So that we go into enemy territory. We will blast the shit out of everybody, but at least we will go in with environmentally nice equipment. No, do you believe it? No, can you believe it? Then they want to have our jet fighters. Our jet fighters are the best way to go. They can make a turn on the size of a dime. Boom, boom. They want to use fuel that's a little bit better for the environment. So that as we're attacking some country, trying to devastate some country because they've been bad to us, we go in, we're dropping bombs all over the place, but at least we're not leaving any environmental footprint. These people are crazy. And the problem is, you know, I stopped it because they came to see me. Sir, we have a new fighter jet. We think it's environmentally friendly. I said, who cares if you're dropping bombs all over the place? You're shooting everybody. No, it's true. You're shooting everybody. No, we think it's environmentally friendly. I said, what's the bad side? Well, there is one problem. It's about 15% less effective. That's a lot. You know what 15% is for a fighter jet? The difference between being shot down and shooting the other guy down. That's the difference. That's a big difference. And then another beauty, just while I'm on it, you don't mind if I go off script, do you? They like it. I have the greatest guys. Ross is back there and Vince, they're greatest guys. But, you know, every once in a while you got to go off script. You just can't. You got to do it. But how about this one? The trucking industry, supply chain. We got enough problems. You never heard about supply chain during the Trump administrations after we left. They want trucks now to go all electric. And they give them a very short period of time. So all these big, beautiful companies, they have these massive Peterbilt and Trailways, have these big, beautiful trucks that cost a fortune. They have a tank of diesel that goes 2,000 miles. Think of that. Up to 2,000. That's pretty much max. But 2,000 miles. An electric truck doesn't have the right torque or pull. We'll have to ask somebody. In other words, it's not as good. But it goes 300 miles. So they have to stop approximately 6.5 times every time. And by the way, it takes a long time to juice them up. And I don't even talk about the fact that, you know, you don't have chargers, because if it was good, you could build them, right? But, you know, they're building chargers all over the place. It's a disaster. You know, they say, you know, the greatest part about having an all-electric truck? The first 10 minutes after it's charged up, you're so happy. But after 10 minutes, now you're in a state of trauma because you're wondering, where the hell am I going to get a charge to get this truck? Very traumatic. It's a very traumatic experience. So you have a truck that goes 2,000 miles and those beautiful things. They got the bedrooms in there good enough for Trump to live. I'd live in one of those trucks. You ever see those big, beautiful rooms? They make them like suites now. These trucks are incredible. They're unbelievable, actually. They're incredible machines. One of the top guys in the industry said they'll all go bankrupt. The supply chain will die. And, you know, I shouldn't even say this. I should let it happen because it's good for the election. But I don't want our country to be hurt. They won't do anything, though. You know, like open borders. You'd think they'd close the borders. They're not doing it. You would think they would be closing the borders right now. They don't care. They actually want, I think they want to destroy our country. But with the trucks, you would think that they'd sit down for about 3 minutes with trucking companies, and after 3 minutes they'll say, sorry, we can't do that. I was with Great Boaters. They make a great, South Carolina the other day. Great company. They make boats. Now they're starting on, they want an all-electric boat. They don't want to use the Mercury and the different, the gasoline-powered engines. They want all electric. So I said to the head of the company's like 50 years old, doing great, make hundreds and hundreds of boats. But now they're not selling well because the interest rates are too high. They're not selling the whole thing. They said, sir, I'm like an angel to them. I walk in because they had the best 4 years of their life. And he said, now it's all ending. But now they want to force them to go two things. 2 miles an hour. You know what that is? A slow golf cart goes 10 miles an hour. Up to 90 miles. Up to 90 miles, 2 miles an hour. I said, how far does the boat go? 60 miles. So in other words, beyond what the boat goes. They want them to go just very slowly. And they want to do, the new regulations are coming out, all electric boats. I said to the man, and this is a pro, if I could sit down with him in 5 minutes and know exactly what you have to do. I said, would it work? No, sir, because the entire boat would have to become a battery. The batteries take massive amounts, and it would be so heavy that it would sink. And then I asked him a question. He said, you must have a science background. I've never been asked. If you're in a boat and you're sitting on top of a battery and the boat starts to sink, do you get electrocuted? Let's say the boat is going down and you have a choice. You got a shark that's 10 yards away, or you can go down with the damn boat and get electrocuted. Honestly, you know what I take? I'm taking the boat every single time. I want the boat. But this is where we are. They want army tanks. These people are crazy. But the trucking industry is probably worse than the auto industry. I have a friend that bought a car, and he thought it was environmentally good. By the way, it's environmentally bad because the batteries are a disaster. You can't get rid of them, all those things. But I have a friend, he bought a car because he's a conservative guy, but he wanted to be, he believed all this nonsense that they're putting out. And he bought a car, and he always makes a trip from Kentucky, politician. He makes a trip from Kentucky to Washington, D.C. quite a bit. And he'd usually make it and, get out of the car, and he'd probably have gasoline left over. No big deal. Now he goes, and he's stopping all the time. Stop! Stop! The guy was a nervous wreck. Like, he got down there about 4 days later. The guy was a disaster. I said, are you okay? Yeah. I said, how's your environmental experience working? But, electric car's fine if you're going to go short distances. You're going to go, within a very short period of time and very short distance. But we have to make everything available. Hybrids are good. All gasoline is good. Don't forget, we have more gasoline than any country in the world, and we're sitting on top of it. And you see where the UAW is on strike. We were up with them, as I told you, and they're on strike, and they have a leader who hates Trump. He hates Trump. I said, listen, here's the story. I have an idea for the leader. He hates Trump because I'm a Republican, because they don't know. All they can do is see Democrat. The Democrats are going to destroy. You're not going to have any auto workers left, and it's going to be in 2 years. And I told them, you're negotiating these wonderful hourly wages, but it doesn't matter because in 2 years you're not going to have any jobs left. They lose $60,000 on every car they make, all electric, $60,000. So these companies are, for the most part, going to go bankrupt. But what's going to happen is they're going to close them up and have the cars made in China, where they can buy them much cheaper. You're not going to have any jobs left. So tell your union that if you're smart, they should endorse me immediately, and you're going to have a thriving life. And I believe the UAW workers will be on my side, 95%. I really do. They're all screaming, we love Trump. You ought to see the crowd. We love Trump. But their union boss is a big Democrat. He likes Biden. What's to like? I said, what's to like? He has no idea who the hell you are. And if you ask him tomorrow, did you meet with the union yesterday? He's going to say, I have no idea. This guy. But you know what? His radical left Marxists that surround him in the office, they know who they are. You see, they know who they are because he's not running the country. The people that are running the country are the people that are in the White House, and they're vicious. They're vicious, and they're destroying our country. Under a Trump administration, gasoline-fired engines will be allowed, but child sexual mutilation will be banned. Is that okay? You okay with that? And we will prosecute those involved in California's depraved new laws that strip parents of parental rights. Can you believe? Can you believe? Who would have thought that 10 years ago, if somebody got up and said, we will stop child sexual mutilation, people would say, is this guy crazy? Who would have? We have to stop it. It's going on at a level nobody, without parental rights. Or who would say that we will give parental rights over your children back to parents? Who would think that you would have to say, or that men in women's sports will not be allowed? Who would think? Can you imagine this? You know, Brian Urlacher, the big football player, great football player from Chicago, he's a massive guy, big, strong guy. He was a great Hall of Famer and everything. He played for Chicago. And I was with him a couple of months ago, and we were standing at my golf club in Palos Verdes, Trump National, and he said, we were talking about things, and I looked at the size of this man, right? He's retired now, but had a Hall of Fame career, top of the line guy, great player, but big. And my manager came over, Lily, she's fantastic, but she's very small. She's the size of his leg, maybe. And I took a picture of Lily and Brian Urlacher, and I said, we will not allow men in women's sports. And you saw the other day they had a weightlifting deal going on, and there's one young woman, she was so proud, her parents were in the front row, she was going to break the record. They put a quarter of an ounce on each side of the thing, stood for 18 years. And she got up, and I don't want to imitate it, because, you know, my wife, the First Lady, hates when I do this. She said, it's not presidential. I said, yeah, but people like it. Good. She hates it. Our great First Lady. She'll say, I loved your speech today, because it's all over the place. Look at the fake news back there. We get a lot of ratings. You know, we outdid the debates in the ratings. I made my speech to the UAW, and we got better ratings than they did, But no, she said it's not presidential, and I understand. She has two things, that, and she doesn't like when I dance a little bit to the music I did. That's not. And I say, I have a problem. Everybody wants it. They're screaming, dance, dance. But our great First Lady, and she doesn't like when I talk about the swimmer either, but maybe I'll do it because this is a little bit, you know, this is a special group. So these are Republicans that have been screwed for years in California. You deserve a little entertainment, right? You deserve it. So they put the weights on the end, little tiny things like a little nothing, quarter of an ounce. And she gets up, oh, and her parents are so proud, 19 years. She's almost here. Boom. Couldn't do it. Then this guy who recently transitioned, he gets over the weights, looks at him. They said, have you lifted before? No, I really haven't. She was a world champion, right? I haven't lifted too much, a little bit. I did it recreationally. Oh, good. So he gets over the same weights. Bing, boom, boom, bing, 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 bing. He broke the record like by 180 pounds. And then they say, we will have men in women's sports. These people are crazy. You know, I'm not a big fan of LeBron James, but I said this. I would like to meet with LeBron, say, LeBron, I've decided I'm going to get out of the presidential business, get out of the real estate business. I'm going to become a basketball coach of women. And I'm going to get him and 4 or 5 other guys to transition. And we are going to have the greatest basketball team in history. We will be undefeated forever. We will make the legendary John Wooden into just a little asterisk. No, it's just crazy. The swimmer, remember, championship swimmer? She wanted to break the record. She was going to do it. She looks left. And these are people, they've been, you know, athletes, they've been sort of at the top level. They're sort of competing with the same guys. One of the PGA Tour guys said, yeah, I played with him when he was 6. I played with him when he was 10, 12. You know, they're just a certain elite group of people. And played with him all my life. And now they're on the senior tour. They're still playing against each other. Same thing with other sports. And she looks left and she sees all of these young ladies that she's been swimming against for years. She looks right and she sees it, but then she looks over here and there's this huge guy with a wings, I say with a wingspan somewhat larger than Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain. Do you know Wilt? The biggest wingspan anybody's ever seen, 7'2". But she sees this guy and she says, oh, wow. And I tell the story. It's a very sad story. She was seriously injured. You heard about this, right? You know what happened to her? She got injured with windburn because this guy went by her so fast that the wind gave her horrible, horrible burns. They took her to the hospital, but she'll make it. She'll be okay. So much for the record. He finished the race, then he went to lunch, and as the other girl swam in, he was going to lunch. He said, let me go to lunch while I'm waiting for them to come in. Now, how ridiculous. And you know what? It's very demeaning to women. It really is. It's ridiculous. It's very demeaning. The state of California has no right to take children away from their parents and sterilize them. They take them away, sterilize them. Can you believe this? I will stop it immediately. All of that crazy stuff will be stopped. I will protect your youth. I will protect parents and their rights, and we will have them make decisions for their children. They are going to be making the decision. I will protect our country, and we will restore public safety to our community. Under the radical left, Democrats, your once beautiful cities have been overtaken by millions and millions of illegal aliens. Psychotic drug addicts, bedlam, squalor. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Nearly half of the stores in downtown San Francisco have shut down, and the rest are going to be shutting down. Targets, Walgreens, all of them, they're closing up because your DAs, they're Marxists, and they only go after Republicans. But your Marxist DAs, they've given hoodlums the green light to pillage and plunder your stores, to do whatever they want. In swanky Beverly Hills, armed bandits stalk their victims' home to rob them at gunpoint in their garage or their living room. They wait till the garage opens, and then they go in and they rob the hell out of them, and they take the trunk of their car and they break it open. People leave the doors and trunks of their luxury cars in Beverly Hills. They leave them hanging wide open so that people don't destroy their car trying to break through and smash through the windows and the doors while rummaging through to steal the tires and other valuables. They leave their trunks open because if they don't, they take a crowbar and they get it open. So they say, look, if you want to take my tire, it's okay. Can you believe that and this is happening a lot, can you believe that this is where our country has come? Under the Trump administration, we will bring back law and order to California. To stop the far-left prosecutors who are deliberately destroying our civilization and our culture, I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. And we will start with the Marxist monsters unleashing mayhem on Los Angeles and San Francisco. In places where there is a true breakdown, and don't forget, when we were in office, we had a period of time, short period of time, where they were attacking Washington. Nobody likes to talk about this, and they were trying to rip down our statues. And I saw what was happening. It was really weird. They wanted to rip down statues of Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. They didn't really care. They just wanted to destroy our culture. And I very quickly took an old law that I saw, and I reinstituted it, and it basically said that if you rip down anybody even attempting to rip down a statue of anybody in Washington, D.C., gets 10 years in jail. You don't get 10 years, but you're off 9.5 for good behavior. You get 10 years in jail. There's no anything. And amazingly, everything stopped. Everything stopped. But in places where there is a true breakdown in the rule of law, such as Oakland, oh, Oakland is so bad. I will use every power at my disposal But it's not Oakland. It's in Los Angeles. It's all over. I mean, it's terrible. It's in places that you wouldn't even believe. But I will use everything I can, every single power at my disposal, including sending as many federal law enforcement assets as required to restore safety and peace. And we will immediately stop. And some people are going to say, oh, this is terrible. I can't believe it. You know, these people are killing people when they go into the stores. You'll have 300 young people who are not looking for a good future walk into a store, big department store, and just pillage it. And if you happen to be there when they're there, they'll knock the hell out of you and kill you in some cases. And we will immediately stop all of the pillaging and theft. Very simply, if you rob a store, you can fully expect to be shot as you are leaving that store. Shot. And everything will immediately stop. You won't have any more of that. And you know our law enforcement is great, but they're not allowed to do anything. They're told to stand by, stand back, don't touch, don't touch. They watch hundreds of kids walk out with television sets, and if they do anything, they lose their family, they lose their house, they lose their pension, they get fired. We have the greatest law enforcement in the world. They know exactly what to do, but they're not allowed to do it by incompetent politicians. The word that they shoot you will get out within minutes, and our nation in one day will be an entirely different place. So, there must be retribution for theft and destruction and the ruination of our country. This is a phenomenon all over the world. People are watching this. This doesn't happen anywhere else. But we've taken away law enforcement. We've taken away their dignity. We have the greatest people. One of the most important things, maybe the most important thing, being a police officer, being somebody that's protecting us, and they're not allowed to do their job, and they want to do their job. Border Patrol, Brandon Judd, all these guys, Tom Homan, a great border person. These people know exactly what to do. They know exactly what to do, and they'll do it. But with the inner cities or just the cities, it's no longer inner cities. This is happening in areas that nobody believes. These kids walk out with televisions, and not kids, some are men. And a lot of it's organized now, where they actually go and take everything out of the store, and then you see this guy selling stuff 5 miles away or selling it from behind cars. It's a horrible thing when the police are allowed to do their job. And that means, in some cases, shoot them. This will stop immediately. Our police are amazing. And it puts our police at great danger. But retribution on our take a look. Retribution on our politicians and political opponents who are leading in campaigns by lots. Oh, we are beating them badly. That has to stop. What they've done is they've gone after opponents so that if you become president or some other job, but if you become president and you don't like somebody, or if somebody's beating you by 10, 15, or 20 points like we're doing with crooked Joe Biden, let's indict the motherfucker. Let's indict him. Then I have to call up Harmeet Dillon. And I say, Harmeet, will you get me the hell out of trouble, please? Can you believe it, right? Harmeet, did you ever see anything like what's going on? I got indicted 4 times. I set a record. It's a record. Most indictments in the shortest period of time. Who is it? Trump. Trump. What the hell did he do? More than half of the unsheltered homeless people in America live in communist-run California. Think of that. As president, I will use all available powers to take the homeless, drug-addicted, and severely deranged and get them off your streets so that law-abiding citizens can once again enjoy the parks and public spaces for which they're paying a lot of money in taxes. With all of the money we will save by ending mass illegal immigration, if you look at it, we will have a gigantic surplus to get our homeless population the treatment they so clearly need. Now, many of the people they'll never be made better. These are people that in many cases are in such bad shape, they'll never be made better. Seriously addicted, and lots of other things happen when that happens. But we also, don't forget, we're taking in the world's population. We're taking in the mental patients from all over the world. You have mental institutions that are empty right now in South America and many other places all over Africa, where they're bringing these people to the United States, having them walk into our country, and we're living with them. Some of these people are very dangerous. It's also, you're taking prisoners, many prisoners. If you look at the prison population in South America and all over the world, including Africa, Europe, all over the world, the prison populations almost in some cases doesn't even exist. They've taken all of it, and they're dumping it. We're like a dumping ground. They've dumped it into the United States. These are the idiots that are running our country. So it makes a really bad situation much worse. But we're going to have the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. You can't do this. Nobody can sustain this. Nobody. We will rapidly rebuild the most secure border in the United States, just as we had 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we had the strongest border in the history of the United States. I built almost 500 miles of wall. I watched this loser, Chris Christie. He built 50 miles. No. You know what they say? If there's a 2x4 laying in and it's rotted, rusted, but it was there for 50 years, but it's not, they call that a renovation, so therefore they don't give me credit. We take the 2x4, we throw it away, we build a beautiful, exactly what, the wall we built is exactly what Border Patrol wanted. We actually had mountain climbers. You wouldn't believe how talented these people are. They can scoot up that with 100 pounds of drugs on their back. It's amazing. The panels on top, they're called decline panels. They make it very hard to climb over. Everything is done for a reason. And they're steel. They wanted them to be steel with concrete inside and then rebar, hardened concrete and rebar. We did everything just as we should. We built almost 500 miles. We had another 200 miles that we would have built. We already achieved our objective. And I had to deal with guys like Mitch McConnell and Paul Rhino. Do you know Paul Rhino? Paul Ryan. We had to deal with Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, all these guys, and it was brutal. So what I did is I said, the hell with it. This is an invasion of our country. I'm taking the money out of the military, and we did. Military was great. It's an invasion. But we built almost 500 miles. Then I said, let's build some more, because what happened is you'd have other areas that you wouldn't see then, and all of a sudden they were become open, and became paths, and we were ready to do that. It was all ordered. And the election was rigged, and then these guys come in, and they took that stuff, and they actually brought it away, and now they're trying to sell it for 2 cents on the dollar. Can you even believe it? It was all ready to be installed. And that's when I first believed that they actually want to have open borders, and nobody can explain it. They don't need the votes because they cheat. They cheat so well, they don't need the votes. So, everyone says, they're doing it for the votes. No, they don't do it for the votes because they cheat so much that it's a lot easier. I'll also use Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries immediately. An estimated 22% of students in L.A. public schools are from a household headed by an illegal alien. Can you believe it? In your community. Not only is this deeply unfair to American children whose classroom resources are being crucially drained and just horrible. Really, it's a cruel thing that's happening. They're being depleted. But it's turned many of your schools into war zones and dangerous gang members from MS-13. Your children are going to school with gang members from MS-13. Tell your children not to get into any fights with them if you don't mind. Okay, I want your children to be around. These are tough people, tough kids. But you know who's tougher? ICE. But ICE doesn't get the credit. ICE, what they have to go through, a lot of gang members, MS-13 gang members, are in Long Island for some reason. That's where they go. They love Long Island. And they killed, not so long ago, 2 beautiful 16-year-old girls walking to school, and they sliced them up with a knife because a gun is too fast. and they made them suffer greatly, both dead, both killed. And ICE will go in and they call them packs, not like a political pack, slightly tougher. And they will go in and they will go into that pack and they'll start swinging. I have a few friends here. They're pretty tough guys, a couple of them. They won't do this work, I will tell you. But ICE says that they're incredible patriots. They don't get any credit. We took them out by the thousands and thousands. We took MS-13 out of our country. Thousands and thousands. And when I first got into office, I was told very strongly, that you cannot bring them back to their country, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and others, that they put planes on the runway so our planes couldn't land. They blocked up all the bus routes. And they said Obama gave up because for years he tried, but he couldn't get them back, so they wouldn't even bother. They just let them stay in our country and kill people. And I said, really, how much money do we pay those three principal countries? They said, sir, we pay them $750 million a year for economic development. You know who the economic development is for? The head of the country, that's who it's for. They live very, very nicely in nice, beautiful chateaus. So we give them $750. I said, tell them, effective immediately, they're not getting any money. The following morning, early in the morning, I get a call from all three, not simultaneously, like separate, like 1, 2, 8 o'clock, 1, 2, 3. The three presidents, sir, we understand there's some difficulty. Are you having a problem? Yeah, you're not taking your people that you're sending us. You know, they send them to us. They don't send the good. They send the ones that they don't want, like MS-13, which is the toughest gang in the world. And typically speaking, when somebody comes and they have tattoos all over their face, I'm not discriminating at all, but typically it's not a positive thing, okay? And I said, you're sending us your people, and you're sending us gang members and killers and murderers and people from jail, and we're bringing them back. You won't take them. You won't even let our planes land. Sir, we would like to apologize for that. We didn't realize they're only doing it for about 7 years, right? We will be glad to take them back, sir. When is our money starting again, sir? And so I made a deal, and I still haven't given them the money, you know. I just held it back. What the damage they've done is so bad. But now Biden wants to give them $4 billion, I read the other day. $4 billion for what? You know what it does? It makes them stronger in the sense of not economic development, but they steal more and the gang members get more. It's so corrupt. This whole thing is so corrupt. What we do is so crazy. It's so crazy. But we brought the MS-13 gang members and killers out by the thousands and thousands and brought them back into their countries. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act, which is very powerful to remove. I mean, we're going to remove all known suspected gang members, drug dealers, and cartel members from the United States of America, ending the scourge of illegal alien gang violence forever. We're going to get them the hell out of our country. We don't want them in our country. This is just the start of what we will do to save California. And you got to remember, our story's on water. It's no wonder the far-left lunatics are getting desperate to stop our movement by any means necessary. Okay, so we have MAGA. Now, if you ask Biden, you know, did you see him the other night? He's saying, we must stop radical MAGA. You know what MAGA is? Make America Great Again, right? We must stop Make America Great Again. You know, you have to be sort of, what a stupid thing to say. But think of it. This is the greatest movement in the history of our country. You know that politicians for years, if they ran in New Hampshire or Iowa, if they ran in South Carolina, early states, any state, and if they came in like second, third, fourth, they would have a great career as a political pundit. They would be celebrated. Pat Buchanan was a great guy, actually, but he came in, you know, did well in New Hampshire, just did well. Didn't win it, but did well. And for many, many years, he was a very respected voice on television, on shows, many people like that. We won 42 states. Think of this. We didn't come in second, third, fifth, ninth. We won 42 states. And then we won 50 states. And then we had an election that was incredible. And we won in 2016. And then we had a much better election, much, much better. We did much better in 2020. We got millions more votes. But we had a rigged election. I was told by the best pollsters, Fabrizio was great, Tony Fabrizio, McLaughlin, great, Those two, they told me, sir, if you got 63 million votes, you can't be beaten. We got almost 75 million votes that they report. That's what they report, because it's much higher than that. The most any sitting president has ever gotten. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, they said, oh, at 10 o'clock we had it made. At 3 o'clock, we just found lots of ballots, lots of ballots. That's all they know how to do is cheat on elections. And frankly, they have to do that because their policies are no good. Their policies are no good. Open borders, high taxes. As you know, crooked Joe Biden and his radical left thugs have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their really leading opponent. It happens to be me. Do you mind if I mention that? On fake and phony charges. They're fake charges. She knows better than anybody they are. This high-level election interference, and it's happening. This is what it is. It's called election interference. Try and destroy a man so that he can't get elected. And don't worry about the indictment or the subpoenas, because after the election, nobody cares. If I weren't running, I'd right now be, I could be very happy, but I like this better because we're making our country great. We're helping people. Much more important. But it's all happening for a single reason, because I'm the only candidate that they don't want to run against. You know, they're people of great misinformation or disinformation, very similar meanings. I go both. Misinformation, disinformation, very close. They always say the opposite. So they say, we want to run against Trump. We want to run. If I'm leading, they want to run against Trump. They don't want to run against me. I mean, these polls are so incredible that are coming out. They don't want to run. They want to run against anybody but me. They'll take the sanctimonious in about 2 seconds. But they say, we want to run against Trump. In last week's big ABC Washington Post poll, I'm leading by 10 points against Biden. And in another one, I'm leading by 12. Another one, I'm leading by 7. They're not happy. They're not happy. And look, how could they be happy? Who would vote for this person? Who would vote for this person? Our country is being destroyed. And, you know, I don't know. Maybe people feel sorry for him. That's the only way he can win, is if you feel sorry. But don't feel sorry for him, because he's not a nice person. And he never was a nice person. And he goes after political opponents and things in a way that nobody ever has done, other than in banana republics or third world countries. That's what they do. That's exactly what they do. And in the brand new, thank you, in the brand new New York Post poll, just came out an hour ago, I'm beating Biden by 11 points when asked who you think will win. And just a few minutes before I came up on stage, the morning consult poll, that's a very big one. That's a very respected poll. I'm at 63%, and Ron DeSanctimonious is at 12%. And the others are way lower. And in New Hampshire, DeSanctimonious has now fallen into 5th place. Oh, have I done a number on that guy? Have we done a number on him? Guy had no chance of getting elected governor. He came to see me, little tears in his eyes. He came to see me. Sir, I need your help. What do you need my help for? I didn't even know him that well, but he was one of about 100 congressmen that would talk about impeachment hoax number 1 and impeachment hoax number 2 on television. So I saw him a little bit. I need your help, sir. I'm not winning in Florida. He was losing by like 30 points or more. He was getting killed. It was over for him, with the primary taking place in a short period of time. And I said, Ron, if I were George Washington and Abraham Lincoln combined, and I came back from the dead and I endorsed you, I don't think it would matter. You're gone, man. He said, sir, you're very popular in Florida. You know, I got 1.2 million more votes than him. You keep hearing how many votes. I got 1.2 million votes than him. And I'm the one that turned Florida red, not him. He didn't turn Florida red. They all go on my fumes. But I said, if you do that, then I said, look, you know, I didn't know the Secretary of Agriculture. His name is Adam Putnam, nice guy. But he was leading by numbers that were like, not as much as I'm leading these guys by, but he was leading by big numbers. It was over. They were already measuring the carpet in the State House. They were going to have the most beautiful carpet you've ever seen in the mansion, as they call it. But I said, all right, Ron, let's do it. And I did it. And this guy went up like a rocket ship. I've never seen anything like it. He was dead. In other words, without me, he was dead. And then they asked him, and then I helped him get through the general election. By the way, he was running against a very hot guy. He turned out to be a crackhead, but these are minor problems. But he was the hottest. Him and Stacey Abrams were the two hottest female male politicians in the country, Democrats. And he said, I won't be able to beat him. I gave him 3 giant Trump rallies. I said, you're going to win, Ron. I don't think so, sir. And he won, okay? Then 4 years later, they said, will you run against the president? He said, I have no comment. I said, no comment. That means that guy's running. That means he's running. And I started hitting him very early. Harmeet said, don't please, sir. He's a Republican. Don't hit him. He's a Republican, sir. I said, I don't give a damn if he's a Republican. Got to hit him. He's a Republican, Harmeet. He's a Republican. I don't care what the hell he is. And I hit him hard, and he's crashing like a bird that's seriously wounded in flight. And here in California, we're leading by a gigantic margin with Trump at 48 and DeSantis, who's now at a number that's so low they don't even know what that. I think they've given up on him. But we're leading by close to 50 points, 5-0. And for NFL fans, do you have any NFL football fans here? We will not play prevent defense. You know what prevent defense is? You hold them scoreless for almost 4 quarters, then you just have to do once more, and they go to prevent. And prevent, right? All the football fans are nodding. There's only about 2% of you in this room. Prevent is something that's supposed to work, but it doesn't. It means you get soft. We don't get soft. We're also doing historic margins with the unbelievably great Hispanic American community. They love us, and I love them. In 2020, we did better than any president in more than 50 years, and we're going to win record numbers of Hispanic American votes next November. And the African American male has been unbelievable. Females have got to come along a little bit. Got to come along. But we're doing great. We're doing great. The radical left, that's right. And people from Vietnam love Trump. Where are the Vietnam? Oh, they are great. So many great. They are so great. They come all dressed up in those beautiful outfits. We love you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to let them rig the presidential election of 2024. Do you hear that? That's you. Every time the radical Democrats, Marxists, communists, fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. Because I'm being indicted for you. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. How about I go home to our elegant First Lady that people really love? I go home, darling, tonight about 6 o'clock, I think I'm being indicted again. Oh. The good news is she's now taking it a little bit lighter, like, oh, again? How many times can you do it? I heard they were going to do it 2 more times, and they said, don't do it. To their people, to their maniacs. Never forget, our enemies want to stop us because we are the only ones that can stop them. The only ones. And we're going to get your situation taken care of in California for the vote. They want to take my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be, unfortunately for me, standing in the way. Here is just some of the agenda in closing that we will immediately implement when we become, it's all of us, we're all going to become, that's what it is. So this is a group effort. It really is. When we become the 47th President of the United States of America, I will totally obliterate the deep state we were starting. We knocked out Comey and all these guys. It is deeper than anyone ever thought, but we got rid of a lot of bad ones. Comey, got rid of him. Oh, sir, why did you fire him? They found out. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It'll get settled very fast. We want to have people not be killed. They're killing hundreds of thousands of people. Horrible. Would have never started if I were president. So many things. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had the war of Ukraine. China wouldn't be talking about Taiwan. And you wouldn't have had the most embarrassing day in the history of our country, that horrible situation that took place in Afghanistan. You wouldn't have had that. I think it was the lowest point. I think I'd actually convinced Putin to go in. He looked at that. He said, anybody that incompetent, I should do whatever the hell I want. And I'm the only candidate who can make this promise to you. I will prevent World War III. And we're much closer than anyone else. We're much closer. And this would be a war like no other, because the level of power from weaponry, from all of the weapons, the new weapons and the nuclear weapons, has never been anything like it. This would not be 2 army tanks running around shooting each other. This is a level of power that nobody's ever seen before. This is obliteration. And I will have it stopped. I will have it stopped. To stop Biden's inflation catastrophe, bring down the cost of energy for Californians, to become energy independent again and even energy dominant. We were ready to become energy dominant. We were totally independent. As we were just 3 years ago. Think of it, 3 years ago we were energy independent. Oil was at $1.87 a gallon. Can you believe it? We will drill, baby, drill. Going to bring down inflation. Way, way down. That'll knock out inflation, a lot of it. Then we're going to get your interest rates down so you can actually go out and buy a house if you want it. Right now, nobody's buying houses because they can't get any money from the banks, right? On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. And here in California, they're wiping away the names of Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington off your schools. Under my leadership, we will once again teach our children to love America, and we will have great schools that lead to great jobs so that our children can have incredible, beautiful lives. I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or mask mandate. No mandates. You want it, you can have it, but no mandates. As I said, very importantly, I will keep men out of women's sports. We will do that. And we will gain total independence from China, and I will hold the Chinese Communist Party accountable for unleashing the China virus upon the world. Something will happen with that. We will make the Silicon Valley tech tyrants answer for their illegal censorship, and we will restore free speech in America. What they did during the election was horrible. FBI and Twitter, they call it Twitter files. The 51 intelligence agents that all said the laptop from hell was from Russia. It wasn't from Russia. You know where it was from? It was from Hunter. Just as I did for 4 years, I will fully uphold your Second Amendment. Nothing happened with it. That wasn't easy. And I will secure our elections with special emphasis and force placed on California so that we can go all paper ballots, voter ID, same-day election, and you actually have to go to a booth. But until then, Republicans must win, and we must compete. We have to compete. We have to win this election. If we don't win this election, we're not going to have a country left anymore. So, in conclusion, this is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. The USA is a mess. Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition, and a very dangerous one at that. Our currency is crashing and will no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat in over 200 years. If that happens, we will revert to a status that you wouldn't believe how low we will be. It won't happen with me, not even a chance. Just like Russia would never have invaded Ukraine, and China would not be even thinking about raiding Taiwan, and we would have left Afghanistan with dignity and strength and pride instead of our greatest embarrassment in history. We would have kept Bagram, the big air base, biggest air base in the world. We would have kept it not because of Afghanistan, but because Bagram is 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. And we left in the dark of night, we left the lights on and we left the dogs behind. For those people that love dogs, they always say, did they take the dogs? No. And if you probably know anything about the Taliban, they're not big into the world of dogs, so you can imagine. If you took the 5 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as crooked Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. We are a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. It's totally corrupt, and we won't let it happen. That's why you must show up to vote in the California primary on Super Tuesday, March 5th. March 5th, that's your first one. And we'll get to November. Get every Republican you know and bring them out for Team Trump. And we're a team. We're all a team together. Remember what I said. MAGA, Make America Great Again. America First. This is the greatest political institution ever in the history of our country. There's never been a movement like this. Newt Gingrich, who's a great guy, said last night, it's a phenomenon the likes of which has never happened in our country before. Look at the crowds. Forget about this crowd. Look outside. Thousands and thousands of people knowing they can't get in. And they come anyway. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, 2022. It's all a battle. If you want to know the truth, stand up. Let me see. Stand up. Whoa. Thank you. Thank you, Dad. It's all a battle. But 2024 is our great battle. We have to win. If we don't win that battle, we will not have a country anymore, in my opinion. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We'll get them in. These people that want wars in every places that nobody ever heard of. We lose our youth. We lose our money. And they don't even want us in their territory. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media. We will evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House. And we will finish the job once and for all. And I make this promise to you, the great people of California. We are going to save your state. The great silent majority is rising like never before. And under our leadership, the forgotten men and women will be forgotten no longer. With your help, your love, and your vote, we will put America first, and we will make America great again. Thank you, California. God bless you all. God bless America. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh
Hey family, thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that share, subscribe, and notification bell to see when we go live. We will be live on Sunday at 2, 7 o'clock on Monday for Off the Cuff, 7 on Tuesday for Unhinged with Cammie and Jeff, and on Wednesday we'll be live for Twerk Talk with JTM and Jeffro at 7. And any of the Trump's rallies we'll post when we're going live. Thank you so much for joining us. Y'all have a good day. Love y'all, family.